Good morning and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our coverage of Michigan versus Chris Schurr. We are in day 9 of Verdict Watch. And we are, let's see, day 4 of Verdict Watch, day 9 of the overall trial. So, they have had 2 full days of deliberation, and then another half a day of deliberation. So by my estimation, we're looking at least 16 plus another 4, right? So we're looking at like 20 hours of deliberating. Now, I don't know if they're counting lunches or not, if they count that as part of their deliberation. Are they allowed to deliberate while they're eating lunch? I don't know. I'm not sure how it works there in Michigan, but sorry, got a cat fur up the old nose. So let's see, who is with us? Angelo, Bob. Oh, wait a minute. No Bob. I thought I saw Bob in there. Baca, hello to you. Alice and Kathy, Brenda, good morning to you. Shore Life, good to see you. Lily Wayne, Terry. Chilly one in Indiana, yeah. Hey, therapist, thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Feisty Super Bowl tail. Oh, do you see her tail? Yeah, she's like right here. She's just. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Oh, you can see her little paw. That's her little paw right there. Little paw right there. Yep, she's just off camera. So, okay, all right, take it easy there, kiddo. All right, so yeah, 2 full days of deliberations and another half a day. So 8 and 4. You know, you do the math, comes out to 20 hours. So I'm thinking they're going to go till lunch, and then they're going to say, you know, hey judge, we're deadlocked, right? I mean, how much more do you want us to how much more? Just how much more do you want us to? Hey, Fanny Pack, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. I don't know. I got nothing. I guess we could do another poll. Right? We could do another poll, and how many months are they going to deliberate for? I think Aaron was telling me they deliberated. The Menendez brothers deliberated, or on the Menendez brothers, they deliberated for like a month or something. Let me see. How long did the jury deliberate for Menendez brothers? 25 days. 25 days for Lyle and 19 days for Eric. Wow. That was the first trial. So 25 for Lyle and 19 for Eric. Wow. So then there's that. So in comparison, they're just getting started, right? So what should today's vote be? Today's poll. Hey, Tammy, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I know, Kathy. Just Shamrock, good to see you. Thank you. Hoping it's today, not Friday at 4 type of thing. Yeah, you know, I would think after like noon, once they get to lunchtime, I would be like, all right, Judge, what more do you want us to do? She may send them back and say, give it another day. And then I would love to know what the breakdown is. Like, is it just one person? Is it multiple people? Hey, Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. What do you guys think? Do you think it's just one person? Do you think it's multiple people? I would say based off of our polling, it's going to be multiple people. But that's just what do you guys think? Just Shamrock, you're glad they're being thoughtful. Hey, Brett, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Just Shamrock, you're glad they're being thoughtful. Well, I don't envy them. Yeah, I would just counter being thoughtful, yes, but also digging their heels in, right? They're being true to what they are supposed to do, right? Like that's part of becoming a juror is like, will you be easily swayed if everybody else doesn't agree with you? So being thoughtful, absolutely, and then believing in your convictions or believing in, hey, this is the way I feel, this is the way I interpreted the evidence. Tammy, you think it's multiple people? That's what I'm going with as well. Kathy asks, if they are deadlocked still, don't they get 3 tries before mistrial? You mean they go to the judge and the judge, they have to go 3 times? I'm not sure. That I'm not sure about. Hey, Melissa, thank you for joining us and asking a good question. Have there been any questions from the jury? Not while they've been deliberating. While during trial, yes, but not while they've been deliberating. Brenda, you think it's 3 or 4? I would go with that because if there's 12 of them, we had, one poll we took, let me go back to that. We had 51 votes. How do you think the jury will vote? We had 56 said not guilty, 56% of you, right? So out of 51 votes, that's got to be like 26, 27 of us. And then 31 said lesser for the voluntary manslaughter. Here, let me pull us over here. Let me go here. And so here are the charges, right? And just so you guys can see, it's just the talking heads, right? So just the talking heads right now. So we're not missing anything. Okay, so getting back to that. So more than half of us thought out of 51 votes, not guilty, right? And then 31%, so a third of us thought doing the voluntary manslaughter, and then 11% of us thought guilty, right? So about 5 out of 51 thought that they should vote guilty. So, and 26, let's just say 25 thought not guilty, 5 thought. So you just kind of pare that down. 10 may think he's not guilty, and 2 may think he's guilty, Hey, what's up, Curviel? Yeah, it's surprising because normally if they were hung, they discuss where the evidence leads them apart and they ask for more evidence or clarification. Lily Wayne, dug in their heels from both of us. Different in every courtroom, therapist says. Lily Wayne, I think multiple people for them to have dug in their heels this long, one person would have caved. Just Shamrock, would anyone think differently if the shot had been through back and chest versus head? It's a good question. It doesn't make it seem like it's a little bit more aggressive. I would go with that. And people are, it does seem like it's a little bit more aggressive. Hey, 13th juror, thank you for joining us. Lily Wayne, when chat is split, so is jury usually. Therapist, I bet it would be next to impossible to get one of our minds. Impossible to change one of our minds. I get it. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're not on the fence, if you truly believe X or Y, you could be like, no, I can't send this person to jail for that, or I can't not send this person to jail for that. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Hellcat, good morning to you. I hope your weather is improving. Angela, I feel like if the judge keeps telling them to keep trying, someone is bound to get angry and speak up to say, we will not be able to agree. Please don't make us go back and try again. Waste of time. At some point, they're going to break, right? At some point, they're going to break. I mean, they are human after all. They have families and lives, and outside of this, at some point, they're going to be like, Judge, enough's enough. Baka, I'm guessing they may have been close to swaying holdout yesterday. That's a guess, sure. Kerviel, yeah, this is a no-win situation, sadly. I agree. Most of the time, Kerviel, I'm like, yeah, this person is guilty, or yeah, no, this person is not guilty. But I'm not happy with either decision, to be quite honest. I'm not gonna be happy with whatever comes back. Maybe a hung jury might be no, that's not. I was gonna say the best solution, but no, that's not. Patrick's family wants a resolution. They want justice. So. No, yeah, this is just going to suck all the way around, unfortunately. Kathy, but Schurr was on his back struggling, so head or shoulders was the only spot available. Yeah. Hey, Marty, thank you for joining us. Good morning to you. Appreciate it. Just Shamrock, I think they've only been told once to keep trying. Yes, that is correct. That was not yesterday, but the day before. So day 2, the first full day. So we've had 2 full days and then 1 half a day. So the half day, whatever, the first full day they came back at like 3:15 and they said, we're deadlocked. She read them deadlock instructions and they went back to it, and then all day yesterday we didn't hear a peep from them. Sure Life, I have a feeling they are back there just waiting it out, knowing they aren't going to budge, but knowing they have to wait until they think the judge will say okay long enough. Can you imagine? Right? Short Life, if that's the case, can you imagine just sitting in a room with like 1, 2, 3 people who have a polar opposite view of you? And who knows how heated these conversations have gotten? You know what it's been like in our chat. Sometimes it's gotten pretty heated. Can you imagine just sitting there? I guess you would just read, or well, you can't go on your, yeah, I suppose you could go on your phone. But yeah, you're just going to sit there and stare at somebody who you like possibly hate. I mean, it's like, Hellcat, good morning, Squeegee Better. Good to hear that. Kerviel, yeah, that's what I hated about Ashley Benefield trial. The jury was tired and the judge made it seem like had to remain in the deliberation room until a verdict, and then 30 minutes later verdict. Yeah. It's just I don't like it when these trials are not cut and dry. I don't like it. Don't like it one bit. Yeah, it's tough. It is so tough. It's I guess it's it is one of the best systems in the world. When you kind of break it down, I'd rather have us doing this than some other countries that don't even have this, So it's it's tough. Life is messy. I am discovering life is messy. It is not it's not clean and neat. As much as I want it to be, it is not clean and neat. It took less than 4 hours for OJ's jury. Let's see how long. Let's see for OJ. Let's see, less than 4 hours before returning a verdict of not guilty. So they began deliberating on October 2nd of 95, and the verdict was announced October 3rd of 95. The trial lasted 9 months with over 150 witnesses. Right? The swiftness of the jury's deliberations surprised legal experts who had anticipated a longer process. That does seem pretty quick. Hey, Widespread Panic, how are you? Shirley Roth, only fan. Thank you for joining us. And Widespread, I hope you are feeling well. I did not check the mod chat after I asked, so I will take it that you're feeling better. Golden Girl and Ruby, hello to you. Only fan saying good morning to everybody. Shirley Roth saying good morning to everybody. Widespread Panic saying good morning to everybody. Brenda, I thought guilty at first, now not guilty, so I can just imagine how the jurors feel. Ohio Jen, good morning to you. How are you doing today in Ohio? Therapist, no, culture and the zeitgeist surely play into each verdict. Yeah, 100%. And don't think these people aren't leaving the courthouse and seeing what's going on the outside. You know, I'm sure they get a sense of it. I mean, if you live in the area, you know what's going on, you know. Unless you're like, just go put your head under a rock. I'm sure I mean, they're not, I would hope they're not stupid. They can see, you know, even though certain elements did not come into this trial, I mean, just sitting there seeing, I'm sure they can see. Like you said, the zeitgeist for sure. Angela, if I strongly believed on one side, you would absolutely not be able to change my mind. I would be like, we can do this all day or for weeks if need be, but not budging. Yeah, because then you would feel like you failed, right? I would feel like I failed the system, I failed the person. You know, whichever side you're on, you would feel like you failed them. Whether it's justice for one side, justice for another, peace for one family, peace for another. You know what I'm saying? Hey, cleverly twisted. We see they have to see going in and out of. Oh yeah, we see they have to see going in and out of the courthouse. Do they go out the back though? I'm wondering. Clever, right? They probably don't go out the front where they see people with signs and flags and stuff. I would think. I would hope the court would at least kind of not or would shelter them somewhat from that. But again, you cannot help but to be aware of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Widespread, I'm predicting a hung jury. I think this is the type of case where once your mind is made up, you dig your heels in. Yeah. Baca, they have to be close to unanimous, otherwise I would think they would have pulled the pin yesterday. Kathy, they can't see the picket outside on both sides. Yeah, I'm hoping that they're taking out another, what do you call it? Taking out another side entrance or whatever. Angela, that's the same way with Karen. The jury must see what is really going on outside that courthouse. The buffer zone speaks volumes to me. Yeah. Supporters are everywhere. Parking is blocks away. Do you know if they're busing them cleverly? Do you know if are they busing them to another location, like with Lori? I think, right? They bus them from one location to the other. So, but again, they have to see, right? All right. So, what poll can we take today? Just another. How much longer will they take? What kind of poll do you guys want to do? Drop some suggestions for polls. Here, I'll even do it here. What kind of poll do you want? What poll should we take today? Chat. I'll put it up here too. What poll should we take today? Cleverly says, I had to walk when I was on jury duty. Yeah. Well, I wonder, that's what I'm saying, just a typical trial, if you will. One that doesn't have this much press around it. Sure, you walk, that's expected. But this is obviously, very heated, very sensitive. Are they trying to shield the jurors? Not only for their protection, just in the process, but then just their protection from, when the verdict comes out. People will be upset. Whatever the verdict is, hung, guilty, not guilty, lesser included, or lesser charged, people will be upset. Maybe the best case scenario would be if he gets the manslaughter, right? Because then he would be, so it would be option 2. Maybe that would be the best outcome, because he's not off scot-free. He is being held accountable for some, for something. So maybe that might, he won't be happy. I'm sure his family won't be happy. police, law enforcement won't be happy because they're just doing their job. I don't know. I really don't know what the solution is, because nobody wins in this. Just nobody wins, unfortunately. Kathy, do retrials always get the same judge? It's a good question. Probably, maybe not, because they get cycled, right? They get cycled in and out. So probably not. Poll idea, will we get a verdict today? Yes, no, hung. All right, that's valid. Melinda, good evening from Perth, Australia. It's nearly 9 p.m. on the 8th. Yes, you are almost a day ahead of us. We are still going. Yes, we are. Must be so hard to make a decision. And yes, that's why they're going on 20 hours and counting. Unless they don't count lunch breaks. I don't know if they count lunch breaks or not. But right now they're about 20 hours and counting. 13th juror, that's still up to like 40 years in prison for the manslaughter charge, I think. And with this judge, she's giving him the max. Don't think he deserves that. I don't think, no, I would beg to differ. It's up to 15 years. So manslaughter is up to 15. So up to 15. So we'll just leave it at that. Ruby, you're so excited. You're leaving today for a trip. My youngest son is graduating with his bachelor degree in radiology. Awesome. He went into the Air Force. Wow, even better. So he could go to college. I'm one proud mama. Good for you. And good for him. Congratulations. Air Force is best of the best. Brad says, the trial I was on that ran for a while, I took the bus there to avoid having to mess with downtown traffic and parking. If there had been protesters, I'd have seen them. No protesters for that one. All right, so we'll do, will we get a verdict today? All right, we can start with that. We'll start with that one. All right. Or what will the verdict be? Will we get a verdict today? Yes, no, hung. Will we get a verdict today? Excuse me. Yes, no. All right. New poll. New poll for you, chat. So will we get a verdict today? Yes, no, or hung? So there's a new poll up there. And by saying hung, that means the judge would have to say, all right, don't go in anymore. I'm going to say, all right, I cast my vote. All right. Hey, Green-Eyed Cat. Thank you for joining us. Did you miss anything interesting? No, just me opining and rambling on. Oh, 13th juror. Yeah, not sure where you got that either, but that's cool. Angela, random thought. If you were on a jury, do you think that you would be able to refrain from talking or looking up info about the case? Honestly, I am not sure I could, at least to my husband. Yeah, especially like Aaron and I, if I got called for jury duty and I actually I sat with the panel, but they picked other people. So I wasn't even I was part of the voir dire, but they didn't individually voir dire, so they just asked us as a group. But then they ended up picking the people that they picked. And so does that mean hung? Does that mean not get? Well, I think the verdict would be hung. That's the way I'm interpreting it. So yes would be they come back with guilty, not guilty. No would be same thing as yesterday. And then hung would be the judge is saying, hey, you know what? All right, we get it. So I hope that helps. I hit the wrong answer. Golden Girl. No. Widespread panic. Those three options you've got up may make up for a nice poll too. Oh, the option 1, 2, and 3. All right. Well, hey, guess what? We can do multiple polls. We don't have to do just one poll. Do you know anything about the case in Memphis? Yeah, no. Yes and no. I remember when it happened, and then I saw what happened, and I'm not going to weigh in other than I'm kind of, from what I know, which is like this much, I was like, okay. I was surprised. Yes. Let me just put it that way. I was surprised. Green-eyed cat. I wouldn't look or discuss, but I'm not unabashed. I'm an unabashed rule follower. Oh, you are an unabashed rule follower. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, with Aaron and I, it would be really. Oh, here we have they put this up. We can do this now. They have officially put up the. Here we go. Let me see. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Do that. Okay. I was called for, okay, so if I was ever called for jury duty while I've been with Aaron, it would be, we've talked about that, like what, would I be able to not talk to her? Would she be able to not talk to me? That would be hard. Yeah, it's a good one, OnlyFan. Yeah, let's do a poll. How many polls are we going to have today? How many polls do we need today? That's a good one. Pull that over here. Yeah, how many polls do you, chat, how many polls do you want to take today? We can do one every hour. How about that? We'll do one every hour if I can remember. Elizabeth, my husband wouldn't say a word about the trial he was on. Kathy, in your opinion, it would be difficult to eat lunch with the holdouts, making your day miserable. Lily Wayne, you need to be able to vent too for your own mental health. Talk to a spouse. Yeah, that's true. Baca, poll, mistrial before or after lunch? Every hour for a new poll, right? Well, if I remember to put up a poll every hour, I will. I probably won't. We'll get to a couple, though. Brett, what is the sound of one jury not returning a verdict? Watch your mouth. It's just so random. Sorry, I'm typing. Angela, we could do a poll, yes or no. Would you spill the tea if you were on a jury after court, or would you be quiet as a church mouse? That's a good one. All right, let's get through. I'll write that down. That's not a bad one. Let's see. Will you talk or be silent as a juror? I would think it would depend on the afterwards, after the case, or after the verdict. I would think it would depend on the case, right? Right? If it's something like this that you might fear for your life, I'm not so sure I would talk. If it was something like for Lori Daybell, yeah, I would absolutely talk. Right? That's Angela. That's how I would answer that. If it was something where I would fear for my life, like if it was a mob or something really divided, if it divided a community, I would probably wait. But if it was something like Lori Daybell, Chad Daybell, Stefan Stearns, something like that, then I'd be like, yeah, let's talk. Kathy, you'd spill your guts? Yes, Angela. I think it would depend, right? I think it would depend. Elizabeth, my husband would have kept quiet while on the trial. I would have been able to stay quiet also. Just Shamrock, my husband would be a good juror and not tell me anything, just to drive me crazy with curiosity. Ruby, you'd spill for sure. Shore Life depends on if the money is good. Right on, Shore Life. You're always looking for the money angle. That's what I like about you. Yeah. Angela. Yeah, what's the book? What's the not the book signing tour? What's the morning day show tour? If you get me on Good Morning America and all the talk shows, how much would you pay? Therapist, what if you chose not to talk out of fear, but another juror did talk and spilled the tea on everyone else? Oh yeah, on the jury and how they voted, right? Yeah, that would be the worst. Angela, yep, money talks, BS walks, right? Lily Wayne, it might depend on how much exposure you wanted on yourself. One juror in the last trial talked to so many people. Sure Life, hey, all about the cha-ching. I'm building a house here. You need to get yourself on a high-profile case then. Sure Life, you got to get yourself on a high-profile trial and then spill the tea afterwards. Yeah, like Murdoch, right? Murdoch. I would have absolutely talked. This one I would not. I would probably say I wouldn't talk about this one. OJ probably wouldn't talk about. But like Murdoch, Daybell, Stearns, even though he still hasn't come to trial yet. Like Chloe Driver, who else? Megan Geyser, was that her name? Yeah. I think if it wasn't so divisive and it didn't divide a community or a nation, then I would talk. But this is dividing a nation, which is sad. Has any of the Delphi jurors talked? Yeah, that's a good point, Just Shamrock. That's a really good point. I don't know. I haven't seen any. I don't think so. But that's a good point, because that could be if you talk and you're for the non-Odin side, they may, who knows? They're those people, yeah. Curvio, good point, Therapist. I think they are told they cannot name other jurors or get too specific, but still scary. Green Eyed Cat, where does the DoorDash trial stand? I've lost track. Is there a trial date? No, that's Solis, Oscar Solis. And Keith, I forget his name. I think his name is Keith. I forget his name. But they're still in pretrial, as far as I know. Still in. Casey Anthony, no talk. Yeah. Oh, right, because they came back not guilty. Right. Unless I was only holdup, you would talk. Hey, Jenny, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. I tell my husband so much after the trial that he'd beg me to shut up. Oh, wait, he already does that when I talk about trials. Nice. Yeah, Stearns is definitely. MEG, thank you for joining us. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. Drunky the Bear, news cannot pay money for interviews. What? You mean if I go on Good Morning America and all those, I don't get paid? I wouldn't be able to go on Jimmy Kimmel and talk about the trial? Oh, that stinks. Sure Life, I bet Juror 15 wishes he had kept his mouth shut about now. Oh, MEG, so one Delphi juror has spoken? Thanks, I did not know. Baca, all the jurors' names permanently hidden from the law enforcement community or community as a whole. Oh, I'm sorry, are all the juror names permanently hidden? They can be, right? They can be under seal. What was, well, isn't Karen Reed the first trial? I know they've sealed them in the past. Stern's going to be hard to watch, but I will. Yep, we will too. We're Maddie needs a voice. That's why I'm like, it'll be tough, it'll be sad, but that poor girl needs to have somebody stand up for her. 13th juror, they probably pay for your trip, though, flight and hotel. All right. Well, it's off the table then. I'm not going to talk if I don't get paid. Sealed for a year. Only fan? Okay. MEG, I think they will have a not guilty verdict today. Sealed, but they're free to reach out still. Yeah, I think that's the way it works, right? If it's up to them, they can. If not, then yeah. Their names should be under seal, but are they? Well, I guess there's always a way to find out, right? If there's always a way to get in. Jenny, yes, Karen Reed jurors' names were sealed, then Ronnie the juror can't stop talking, right? Isn't one of them on her team now? Isn't one of the jurors on her team? I'm not following the case the second go around, but I thought there's a female that was a juror for round 1, and now she's on the team. Ruby, number 15 was a problem from the start. That's the way it seems to be. Yep, it'll be very hard to watch, but that little girl deserves justice. Yes, she does. Yep, and Angela, he needs to be another one. Yep. MEG, can Schurr be convicted for a lesser included offense? Yeah, the option 2. Emmy, that's what he's up against. Option 1 is just straight up guilty of second degree. Option 2 is they just added that, the guilty of voluntary manslaughter, and then of course option 3 would be not guilty. Schurr life, under sealed, and some judges say them out loud in court. What is up with that, right? Yeah, female lawyer is on the team. That's what I thought. Thank you, 13th juror. All right, if you haven't voted yet, please do so. We have 50 watching and 49 votes, so good job on that, guys. Let's see, where do we stand? Will we get a verdict today? 31% are saying yes, 10% are saying no, and 59% are saying hung. So there we stand. MEG, now I might change my prediction. Jury will come back with guilty of voluntary manslaughter. That's your worthless guess, right? That might be the compromise. You know what I'm saying? That, like, if you have, because it's split obviously, or else they'd come to a verdict. So that might be the compromise. That may be like, all right, can we agree to meet in the middle? Because to me, that's meeting in the middle. That's giving some justice to Patrick and giving some accountability to law enforcement and Schurr without Schurr going away for life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me maybe could be spun as that's the compromise. You know, what do you guys think? Do you think option 2, voluntary manslaughter, do you think that's a compromise, if you will? Because Patrick's family gets some, and I mean, they get some justice for him. Schurr is found accountable, but then on law enforcement, you know, nobody's going to be happy. Let's just say that. Nobody's going to be happy with this. But however way it falls, you know. Flipped a script. Let's see. If I just can't get along with use of deadly force for resisting arrest, you have a lot of people who agree with that. Yeah, it's a tough one, Flip. I'm not saying this is easy. This is definitely very, very difficult. So that's not a compromise. I could explain the length of deliberations. Hopefully they don't reach an impasse. Baca, not hearing the second deployment of the taser, not aiming when he pewed. Flipped a script. These type of situations is why AA people do not want cops and oh, gotcha, okay. Because they tend to be afraid even when taking, yeah. Something has to be done, I think, on a higher level, right? We have to, from what I took out of this whole thing is just they're trained to do this, right? We have trained law enforcement to act a certain way. Whether that's right or wrong, that's where we are right now. So is it time that we look at some of that training? Is it time that we look at that? And take a different approach, maybe. I don't know. We have to have some kind of conversation. Drunky the Bear, I think they've already tried to compromise with the less offense, but there's at least one holdout unwilling. A good compromise is when both sides walk away feeling like they won. Therapist, yeah. I don't think anybody's going to win. Well, Schurr would win if it's a hung juror. He would win because that would be a win for him. Right? That would be the only way he would win. Well, not guilty or hung jury. And then if they find him guilty, then that would be a win for Patrick. It's not possible here. I agree. I'm honestly sickened by what happened. There are many better options. Just trying to be realistic and not get too emotional. I know. We have to just try to remain calm and even. I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. We just have to remain as calm as we can, and try to grow from this in a positive way. 13th juror, no, don't think they should compromise. 15 years is still a long time for him following the department protocols. Therapist, going to go to prison for 15 years because you did exactly what you were trained to do is bananas, make changes in training and protocol, then punish someone for messing up. In your opinion. OnlyFan, 15 years is the max, yep. As with Ingolf Twerk, it might be as light as a house arrest for 1 to 2 years. Hung wouldn't be a win for the defendant if they choose to try him again. True. That is true. That's the big if, right? Baca, that's the big if. Flip to script. I've been seeing the bar keeps being lowered for use of force. Yeah, sad but true. See, that's where I think we have to have a shift somewhere. Something has to happen. I don't know what. I just want to have a conversation and try and figure out what can we do to prevent this in the future. On both sides. I'm not going to say it's just one side or the other. I think both sides. And it's not a race thing, although it could be, but on both sides, Sure Life, well, I have a feeling the prosecution will go again for another trial, so even hung isn't a win. Both families will have to go through this all over a second time. I know. That's gonna really... I gotta sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Lily Wayne, if it's hung, they may try him again. Not a win for Schurr or anyone. Yeah. Widespread panic. That's exactly what I'm taking from this. Schurr was doing what he was trained to do. We need to train cops to act differently. I think ultimately that's what has to happen. They are the ones that are in control and they have the power. Even though Patrick ran and was resisting arrest, still the power was in the hands of Schurr. Ultimately, the power was in his hands. Because when you carry a weapon that can remove the life of somebody else, you are in control. You have the power. And I understand that he didn't know if Patrick had a weapon as well. So then it's like him or me. Then it boils down to truly just law of the jungle. Kerviel, yeah, I hate that someone passed away, but that altercation went on for a long time. He was told to drop it more than 10 times, and then it escalated. They fought over the taser for a while. 13th juror, unless they retry the case, he still will have a heavy weight on his shoulders if there's a mistrial. 100%. Yeah. No, I mean, it's not going to get any easier. I'm sorry. Golden Girl poll. If hung, do you think it will be retried? Yeah, we could do that. We can do several polls today. Let's see. If hung, do not autocorrect. Seriously? If hung, do you think it will be? That's a really good question. Kerrville, it really comes down to, do I want to possibly be deleted or save my own life and face the consequences? That is something they teach in concealed carry. Trial by 12 or carried by 6. Angela, we as a society have to do better. So much hate in this world. It is sad. I agree. Oh, thank you, therapist. Oh, Shore Life. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you. Flip the script. Part of the problem is no uniform agreed upon a standard of practice, even though there is one, but department are allowed to choose their own practices, it seems. I agree with the university professor. I think there should be a federal standard that might help. Again, we have to have this conversation, you know. I think that's the problem, is maybe that's the problem. People don't want to have the conversation at levels where they can affect change. Like, we can talk all we want about it. Nothing's going to change other than our, you know, daily lives. But I think there should be a federal standard, you know, that. But then here's the argument. How can you have a federal standard for Miami versus Boston versus Chicago versus Dallas? Meaning, just from like a population standpoint to a weather standpoint, and by that I mean a foot pursuit. Some cop in Miami, when it's, you know, 95 degrees out and 100% humidity, isn't going to want to chase down somebody. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. It's so difficult, and that's why we are where we are. Therapist, you know, if I was on this jury, there's no way I'd budge on my perspective. Y'all, let's see, make sound arguments, but it goes back to Schurr's character, intention, attempts at less lethal. And widespread panic to Kerrville, very good point. That could have been exactly what Schurr was thinking. Golden Girl, thanks. Widespread panic. That question has been in my mind for a while. I personally don't think they should retry. There's a lot of pressure, I think, on Mr. Becker there and the state. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure probably from both sides. Again, he's getting stuff from both sides, I am sure. Widespread panic. I think it'll be useless to retry. I think this trial is too polarizing. Kerrville, yeah, I mean, it changes in a split second. I'm always reminded of the female cop that walked up to a window and everything seemed okay, but in a split second it wasn't, right? Lily Wayne, if they retry him, isn't that a political decision? Depends on the temperature of the community and if it's an election year. Well, look at Timothy Harrington down in Mississippi. That was a hung jury, and they were not going to retry him, I'm pretty sure, right? And then they found Jay's bones, so now they are going to, you know, that blows up that situation. These are all very, very, very tough decisions to make, and I appreciate you guys being civil and having discourse that is respectful. That's what we always hope for in our chat. Hey, Irish Amy, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Everybody's doing well here. Super Ball's sleeping right over here. Rafa and Polly are outside. Polly is pregnant, about 5 weeks pregnant now, so she's got about 3 or 4 more weeks to go. Be sure to take our poll if you are just coming in. Will we get a verdict today? We have 60 votes. So thank you for voting on that. Sure Life, if they come back as hung, will the lawyers go to the jury and poll them on what their decisions were so they will know which way they were leaning? Are they able to? Are they allowed? I'm trying to remember in Timothy Harrington, He didn't. The judge said, I'm not going to ask you specifically what you voted, but I just want to know as a group, was it 1, 2, 5, 6? I think that's what the judge did in Harrington, if I'm not mistaken. I think he did. I don't think they were polled because then they could be targeted, but I think he said as a group, he asked the four-person, as a group, how did you guys vote? Like, was it one person that was a holdout, half of you were a holdout, that kind of thing. 13th juror, the treehouse murder was a hung jury and he ended up taking a plea instead of going to trial again. Irish Amy, you are good. Just got back from tattoo parlor. Ooh. What kind of tattoo? Flip the script. At least this jury has people of color on it. Such as it is, right? Trial Junkies United. Morning came too soon. I am sure it did. I am sure it did. All right, Flip. Let's go. We have that breakdown. Let me pull that up. All right. So here is the jury makeup breakdown. Whatever you want to say. Let's see. So this is the breakdown, the makeup, if you will. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 males. Now I'm pretty sure, I know it was 1 and 2 that were let go. So I'm not sure if it was the 2. I'm not sure who was let go, right? But I know jurors number 1 and 2 were let go. So you've got 2. 3, 4. You got four males, and then of course there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 10 females. So we have a Hispanic male, Hispanic female, biracial female. 2 white females there, a white male, another white female. Then going on the bottom, white male, white female, another female Hispanic. So 2 female Hispanics, a white male, white female, and another white female. So by and large, white females outweigh, right? So you've got 4 on the bottom, white females, and then 1, 2, 3 on top. So that's 7, right? 7 white females. That's half the jury is white females. Let me catch up to you guys. So Flip, so you think there's 2. Well, we've got Hispanic and biracial / black. Yeah, I guess. I'm not even sure why they, I don't know. I'm just reading that. So yeah, so there would be your 2. Well, there's 2 Hispanic and then there's the biracial. So there you have it. Now both sides picked that jury. You know, both sides. It wasn't like just one side picked it. Both sides picked it. But the more I look at that, yeah, 7 out of half of the jury before they were picked. Half of the jury was white. Were white female. And then the majority were in healthcare, right? You've got 3 nurses, you got a pharmacy technician, a physician's assistant. That's 5 people right there are in healthcare. So 5 out of the 14 were in healthcare, and 2 of them were let go. Jurors number 1 and 2 were let go. So again, I don't know which one of those were. You know, who was let go. Hey, Fala, how are you? How was your concert? Flip, this looks like a standard American jury. I guess for sure it would be. I don't know. Flip, the problem is the state DA, most of them want to lose the case because it's not in their interest. Interesting perspective. Baca is also asking Fala, how was the concert? Yes, do tell. How was the concert? Answer, if you guys take a moment to answer the poll. We have a poll going. Will we get a verdict today? Yes, no, and hung. Concert amazing. Pantera. Nice. Foot pissed off, I bet. Widespread panic. Your first tattoo was shortly after college. I don't know what I was doing, and the artist was horrible. Fortunately, it's small. I want to have it tattooed over at some point. Oh, yeah, Irish Amy, did you say what kind of... Let's see. It's still covered at the moment, but when I take off the wrap, I will get right on it. What is it again? Seems like an awfully white jury for an ethnically diverse city. Yeah. Flip looks like a standard American jury. Irish Amy, I love how this chat is so respectful and kind. Yes. Motion! It moved! Oh, it's moving. Oh, shit. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Okay. We may have something here, guys. Get ready. Get ready, people. Get ready. Something's happening. All right, get ready. Here we go. Let me All right, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Clearly people are assembling. No judge yet. Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Stop. Stop. I'm also checking the twits to see what's going on there. Something's going on. So maybe, here's the other thing is they could have come to a decision yesterday, slept on it, and then they came back in. There's always that as well.
With our technology here,
seriously?
But just for those who are joining us right now.
All right, I'm going to mute them. Yeah, there are, Lily Wayne. There's definitely a presence outside as well, for sure. Keeping my eye on Twitter as well.
That we have seen this pool camera again. Camera zoom out from the state seal, which is above the judge's chair on the left side of your screen, and out to the well of the court. A typical picture that we've seen for most of the trial. But again, we're still waiting on to hear about what exactly is going on. You can see some courthouse workers there working behind the desk. As you can kind of see, this kind of caught us off guard a little bit because we were not exactly sure if we were going to get a heads up whether there was going to be some activity with the jury this morning.
Yeah, and as you can see as well, Judge Mims has not gone into the courtroom just yet, but obviously the moment that she goes in, we believe that court proceedings, possible verdict, not verdict, will be read when she's able to come in.
So they don't even know yet.
Well, so again, this is all developing right now.
Yeah.
We're not sure why people have been called into the courtroom this early in the morning. This is the first time in a long time we've seen them come this early into the courtroom on the day of deliberation.
It does, beg the question, what is going on here?
So we don't know yet.
It definitely does.
We are also talking back and forth with our producer, and of course, right now we want to let you know what exactly Christopher Schurr is charged with. So here are the things that we could see go down in court today. 4 outcomes, and again, we don't know what.
You can pause them. All right, so they don't know, we don't know, nobody knows. That's where we stand right now. Not very well run in that regard, you know what I'm saying? Like usually, I remember with Sarah Boone, they said, verdict is in, verdict is in. And usually you get that, the verdict is in, and then they give you like, half hour. Look at Lori Daybell. I think it was an hour. They gave an hour after they said the verdict has been reached. They gave an hour. Monica Cementili, remember Judge Coney's like, when that verdict comes in, no, I'm not going to give you 5 minutes. I want you here. So they had to wait, Hey, Elizabeth, I would have thought they would have waited till lunch, to be quite honest. That's what I would have thought. That may have gotten another note that they are not agreeing. I would have thought that they would have waited at least until lunch, but, Hopefully not a question. Can you imagine at this point? Introduced as a middle ground for jurors. See, I told you that was going to be the compromise, if you will. I knew it. Baca, I think if there was a verdict, they would know. Mistrial still hung. Yeah, no, don't give Silverman 1 second more. I know, right? Irish Amy here, this is what they're going off of. Their option 1 is guilty of second degree. That's up to life with parole. Option 2, which they added at the very end there, guilty of voluntary manslaughter. That carries up to 15 years. And then option 3 is not guilty of anything. So those are the 3 things. And I'm just covering these guys and not letting them talk because I don't want us to get in trouble or anything like that. So just don't want us to get in trouble for anything. Yeah, Terry H., something is definitely happening. We're not quite sure yet. Something is happening. Let's see. They called them in for a reason. Right? They called them in for a reason. There's, they definitely had them come in for a reason. Irish Amy, oh yeah, sorry, my brain is clearly out for the day. Yeah, no worries. It's okay. That's why we're here. Shore Life, question, who decides to add additional charges? Can the defense say no, we don't want additional charges added? Well, if you remember in closing, he said the state was scared. That's why they added that guilty of voluntary manslaughter. They didn't have that on the table until like the closings, until after the trial was done. And then the defense says in their closing argument, they're scared. So I don't know. I don't know how much of a say he had. I know they objected to it, but it came in anyway. Yes, it does look quiet here where they are. Prove second. Well, I think they can say no. I think they have any of those options. That's their option. Yeah, they did object to it, OnlyFans says, but the judge allowed it. Hey, Sherry M. Good morning to you. We had some movement in the courthouse, Sherry. That's why we're like, what's going on? Nobody knows what's going on. News crew was just talking to fill airtime. They had nothing valuable to say. Yeah. Let their faces be shown at least. So those are the 3 options that they have. There's police presence, obviously. Just a handful of officers. What's that, like maybe 10, if that? Let's see. Pull it up here. All right, Angela, in your opinion, they will be hung due to the fact of what will happen if they were to say not guilty because of what may happen outside the courtroom if they did find him not guilty? Maybe. Hipster doofus, those are bicycle cops. Definitely a verdict. Let's see.
Seeing right now, obviously we can see half of the room filled with Schurr supporters, or we are assuming that Lyoya supporters are on the other side. Schurr, for a moment, you see that door right there. Schurr and his team had stepped behind that door for a little bit, then stepped back in. We also obviously can see Kent County Sheriff's deputies all around in this courtroom. We saw police out in front. We see Kent County deputies here as well. We also have security for our team, for those who are wondering. Again, we are not sure exactly what is happening. We have not gotten word of we have reached a verdict or whether the jury is deadlocked once again. The judge also has not entered the courtroom at this point, which probably means that the jurors have not entered this room. So people are just patiently waiting, but there is a reason why they have been called back into this courtroom.
And that's exactly right? We're assuming that they've gotten a notification that something is going on here. Again, it could be one of the 4 outcomes you've heard us discuss, not only on all of our newscasts, but also on our streaming platform.
Mr. Becker there is
over the last.
Mr. Becker is. Do you think he looks nervous? He's kind of rocking back and forth. Is that nervous energy? I think that's nervous energy. What might that hint be, Ken? What would that hint be? Thirteenth juror, it's up to the prosecutor and the judge. Defense has no say on the charges.
Kind of see what's happening. All the things that they have to take and consider, obviously, is that second-degree murder charge and also that voluntary manslaughter charge. We want to take a moment to show you the makeup of this jury before the verdict is reached. This jury is made up of 10 women and 4 men. The youngest is in her early 20s, while some are in their 50s and 70s. 10 members are white, 3 are Latino, and 1 member is black. And important to remember, both the defense and prosecution did approve this jury, so both sides going into this trial felt confident that this makeup of this jury would help them talk about listen to their case.
Yeah, and again, to your point, they did have to decide on those 14 people chosen. Again, the other day before deliberations started, we saw 2 of those jury members dismissed, not necessarily dismissed, but again.
All right. Yes, Ken, do tell. Let's see. Mr. Schurr means quick. We need to talk lawyer to client right now. Jenny, I do that all the time because I can't remain still. I suspect that gives a slight preference towards verdict.
Manslaughter. There could also be a hung jury, and there could also it could also be sit back into deliberations. I understand that we have Callie Lichter live in the courthouse right now following this breaking news for us. Callie, I know we were texting back and forth a few minutes ago. Any indication on what is going on?
No, Tanner, we really do not know what is going on in that courtroom right now. I know we're standing outside of the media room, so I can't see the feed right now of what's going on inside the courtroom. But, there's definitely a different energy up there today. I know our Riley Mack, who's currently in the courtroom, said, today just feels different. And when she told us, she'd sent us a text, she said, guys, we're going into the courtroom. And again, we don't know what that means. We've already seen people called back for one.
All right, so they don't know what's going on, and they're like right there. Oh, this is so nerve-wracking. I wish they would.
They came to a conclusion about what type of verdict they agreed on. And then, what I was seeing from that court feed, you saw the defense team, along with Christopher Schurr, kind of go into a separate room for a few minutes. Again, we do not know what they were talking about back there. It's really all just up in the air and a waiting game to see, what's going to happen. And I would assume, the coming minutes when the judge comes back and the jury comes back in. And I mean, it's been 4 days of deliberation, and the jury does not have a set time on how long they can deliberate on. It's kind of up to them. It's almost like, go at your own pace. It's really until they can come to a conclusion.
Mr. Becker, look at him. He just keeps going back and forth in his chair. That's definitely some nervous energy. Defense does not look as nervous. Hey, Rachel. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, Mr. Becker there just kept rocking back and forth, back and forth. He was standing up, rocking back and forth.
Yeah, so being on the 5th floor with the courtroom being on the 10th floor, we aren't seeing a lot of people who are here for the trial for the case. Really, the people that the media here on the 5th floor have been seeing for the past couple days have just been the media, unless they've gone upstairs to the 10th floor. But from the messages we're getting from Riley Mack, who's been on the 10th floor for the past couple of days, going to that courtroom, she said everyone is just waiting. She said there's been more people here than she's seen in previous days, waiting to get into that courtroom, anticipating a verdict. And so, from what she is saying up there, it's just a different type of energy today that we've seen. And, as you come inside the courthouse, you have to go through security, put your things through security, and I know that.
I don't think so, Elizabeth. I never heard that there was a plea deal. So I don't know.
That we could see in the outcome of this. Again, that second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, acquittal, or a hung jury here, in which case there would be a mistrial. Can you kind of explain what the energy has been like around court over the last 4 days as the jury has been deliberating? Of course, right now is a completely different energy, but over the last 4 days, it's really been kind of a waiting game.
Yeah, that it has. And I know no one was quite anticipating from, people who have been telling us what they kind of expect, how long for this is going to take. I know we were originally told 3 weeks, I believe the first week was jury selection, last week and this week. But, we're told that was kind of like a longer estimate. But so, we were knowing probably on the first day of deliberation we were not going to get a verdict, maybe not on the second day either. But as the days kind of tick on, a lot of people are saying, there's a lot to get through. So, it's definitely over the past couple of days, it's just been sitting in wait, not really expecting anything. But now that everyone's
follow with the way the defense team went into that room. Did one of the prosecutors go with them? I don't think so. I don't know. Oh, here we go.
Mims presiding.
Thank you. You may be seated. And we're going back on the record in 2210260 FC, People versus Schurr. All parties are present. And I did receive communication from the jury that they're unable to reach a decision. I am going to have them come in to the courtroom to verify that, and we'll proceed from there. Anything you want to address on the record before that happens, Mr. Becker?
Nothing for Your Honor.
Mr. Borgula?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. Just following up on some communications we had with the court regarding, I understand the court's going to declare a mistrial. 2 or more counts, the court may inquire the juries whether they reach unanimity as to one of them. And it's my understanding that the court is not inclined to do that for the reasons discussed, which were that, first of all, it's discretionary. Second of all, it's the court's position this isn't actually 2 separate counts. It's just 1 count with a lesser included.
Right. Mr. Becker?
Yeah, I've taken verdicts like that where there's 2 separate counts, but this is 1 count with a lesser included, so it makes a difference, so I don't think I
Right.
can do that.
Yeah, so that rule does not apply in this situation because there's only 1 count on the information, so.
All right,
All right, welcome back. You may be seated. And I did receive communication that you were unable to reach a verdict. Who was the 4-person? Raise your hand. Okay. And so first I wanted to verify that that's true, that you're unable to reach a verdict as a panel.
Correct.
Okay. And so what I'm going to do is declare a mistrial in this case, and that means that you're all discharged. And so I'm going to send you back to the jury room just to await further instructions regarding transportation and that sort of thing. Also, I will come back and speak with you to answer any questions I can answer, and then potentially the attorneys may want to speak with you as well, but that would be up to you. And I'll be back in a few minutes, so we'll have you leave out of the same door. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. You may be seated.
All right. I'm not sure there's anything else we need to address at this point.
Nothing for your honor.
All right, Mr. Borgula.
Not from the defense, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Court is adjourned.
All rise, please. Thank you. You may be seated.
Mr. Police Officer Mike C. the other jury. That's all I got to say.
Breaking news update here in Grand Rapids. The judge has declared a You can see people now leaving the courtroom. This is breaking news. We just found this out. Very shocking to see that the jury was not able to come to an agreement on what a possible conviction could have been here.
Yeah, before the jury announced exactly kind of what was going on here, there were a couple motions before the jury entered into the courtroom. Again, the defense team standing up and citing a Supreme Court rule that was 6.420. The judge ultimately saying that this rule in this case did not apply. And we're going to get some more clarification on that as we continue to move through this breaking news process. Again, so after that whole ordeal went down between the defense team and the judge, right after that, the jury entered, and then the judge confirmed with the jury foreperson that a mistrial had been, or that they were not able to reach a decision. And of course, that is when the judge basically said that they were going to be declaring a mistrial. Not much else happened after that, as far as we could see, but this is a live look outside of the courthouse, or excuse me, the courtroom there on the 10th floor of the Kent County Courthouse. And you can see immediately we saw a lot of people coming out of there. And of course, as this breaking news transpires, we're going to learn in the days and weeks that come what this will mean for this case going forward.
We quickly saw Ven Johnson, who is the attorney representing Patrick Lyoya's family, walk out of the courtroom Still waiting to see who else will be able to walk out. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to someone. I don't know if you just saw, but 13 on your sides, Riley Mack and Josh Albertus were outside Riley was inside the courtroom. Josh was outside of the courtroom getting ready to hopefully speak to someone. In reaction to this, we can see our cameras actually moving, hoping to see where they're able to go. But again, a lot of things could happen after this. For people who are watching, we've been talking about a mistrial was one of the options that could have been an option for this trial and how it would end. And this doesn't mean that this case is necessarily over. Prosecutor Becker could ask for a retrial, and this whole trial could happen all over once again. He could also offer plea agreements to a lesser charge, and Christopher Schurr could agree to those agreements, and then that case be over. But, you know, and also the judge still has to assign a date. If Prosecutor Becker would want a new trial, she has to assign a date. Sometimes we see that happen right after she declares a mistrial. Let's bring in Callie Lichter. Callie, this is breaking news. Kind of tell us, walk us through what just happened.
Yeah, so, you know, this has definitely been something that we've been anticipating over the past couple of days, Lauren, but I don't know if really any of us were expecting at, you know, around 9:30, 10 in the morning, whatever, you know, time we're currently at, that we were going to, you know, get this, you know, mistrial ruling from the judge. And, you know, we kind of anticipated, you know, they were deadlocked.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Okay. So thank you for letting me know. Let's see. Am I back yet? I know there's a delay. It takes time. It takes time. Am I back yet? Am I back yet? Okay. All right. Sorry. It takes time. You have to understand when one posts it, I see it. So thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Now I will get everybody's muted messages. Appreciate it, guys. I only need 1 or 2. So let the mods tell me. You don't all have to tell me. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm doing my best. All right. I'm doing my best. So please just bear with me. So we're waiting for a press conference. Hopefully we will see. Let me go back to answering some questions. Let's see. Hopefully they will have a press conference. Let's see. Lily Wayne, I wonder how long a time they will have to decide on a retrial. Is it the DA? Is the governor involved? Probably up to 30 days. And they can announce it at any point in time. Yes, Father, I know. Yeah, I understand. You guys are doing your best. I understand. I appreciate it. But you have to understand, when I have 50 people telling me I'm muted, I see it. I see it. There is a delay, you guys, just so you know, on my end. I'm talking right now. You're not going to see it for like 10 or 15 seconds. So when everybody says muted, I see that and I appreciate that. I don't need 50 people telling me I'm muted, just so you know. So let's, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys saying that. But let's just also be respectful of me because I see it. Trust me, I see it. All right, so Brett, they just said it could be one of 4 things. Second, manslaughter, acquittal, or hung. But of course, it could also be a jury question or a jury problem. Anything else anyone could think of? Let's see. Stop yelling at us. Right. That's the way I feel like you guys are yelling at me. I know you're not. I know it's all in good intentions. No criticism ever intended. Oh, I guess, okay, Aaron's saying chat is live, but I'm on a delay. Okay, I guess that's what it is. So you guys are live, I'm on the delay. So, here, watch. Typing this now at 10:04. All right, I'm typing that now at 10:04. All right, see how long that takes to pop in. Typing this now at 10:04. See how long that takes to kick in. Just so you guys get a sense of what goes on. So whenever I'm saying something, you're typing something, I'm saying something, so you guys can see what the difference is. We were all yelling at each other. Yes, we are. Chats are real time. Okay, so chats are in real time. See house long. Brat, do they have a verdict? I won't recommend it. All right, so now we're waiting for a press conference. Let's wait for a press conference. All right. Yeah, this is too Twilight Zone-ish for me. Trust, Amy, now you know how I feel. Here, I'm even going to put up here. Now you know how I feel. All right, and I'm going to put that in there. Now you know how I feel. I wish it was in real time, but it's not, so it's difficult, but we do the best we can. Yeah, really want to know the split. I wonder if they're going to pounce on a juror, like in Lori Daybell. They pounced on a juror. Yeah, that was a long delay, right? Brat, does the jury have a question? Oops. Nope, but nice try. Widespread. I think Bot just doesn't like you. Irish Amy, I hear you, Squeegee, especially with the double stream. You guys are on fire. Thank you. There, I'm typing thanks now. Typing thanks now and posting thanks. See how long that takes. Curvial! No, wait, Capri! I just saw Curvial right there. Capri, thank you for joining us. I was going to pull up Curvial. There, that's what I was seeing. Curvial saying hello to Capri. Drunky the Bear, Lori Daybell juror is still talking, right? Still talking. All right, let's listen in and see what these guys are saying.
You know, they've been out here for a week now demonstrating, singing, praying. So obviously to hear this isn't what they were hoping for. Wish we could have more people to talk to about what people are saying, but this is the only thing we're seeing right now is that it's calm, but people are upset.
Yeah, I had a gentleman, didn't speak with him directly, but come out very vocal saying, using some profanity.
All right, well, we don't need to listen to that because I don't want that to be I don't want it to be. I don't want this stream to be about that. So we'll let that go for now. JWD, the way I'm not happy. Yeah, well, we know. Yeah, Schurr should be held accountable. Justice should be brought for the victim. Yeah, nobody was going to be happy in this decision, one way or the other. That's the sad, bad thing about it. Nobody was going to be happy. We don't know. That's up to Brenda. Do they do another trial? That's up to the DA. It's up to the DA to. It's up to the DA whether they're going to bring more charges or not. Brat, well, there's the answer. As Brat says, the state can do so or not, their choice. Let's see what these guys are saying.
Some sort of resolution one way or the other in this trial. Again, that's tough to say, but of course, you know, it does appear that people are having an emotional reaction to all of this, especially some of the people that have been sitting outside court day in and day out, you know, since this began last Monday. And of course, that is hard to believe that this trial has been going on for the better part of a week.
Curviel, yep. This is one trial where it is a no-win compared to most we watch where it was clear what outcome we root for. I know. I feel like a large percentage, Curviel, not even just like a small percentage, like a large percentage of people are not going to be happy with whatever is decided, whether it's hung, guilty, not guilty. And yes, OnlyFan, most importantly, respect the process. That I will say for sure. Respect the process. Let me put this, oh, don't want to do that. Here, let's move this up here. Whatever happens, just respect the process. Brett says, she said it was shocking that they couldn't reach an agreement. It was always a major risk in this trial. Right? Let's see what she's saying.
I just did declare a mistrial. Riley, talk about that moment. What happened?
You guys, you could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. It was completely silent. From the moment I walked in nearly to the end, there was, you know, just everyone was silent. There were some, you know, shakes of the head after this came out. And, you know, this is honestly a decision that no one is really happy with. It just feels like, I think the feeling in that courtroom is that, you know, what was the point of all of this? It's been, you know, 20-ish hours of jury deliberation, and no decision to come out of that. Yeah, I was sitting there in the third row of the courtroom. I was sitting behind Patrick Lyoya's family. They didn't say anything. It was just complete silence. There was some Schurr's family, Schurr's loved ones were praying right before, you know, the judge spoke. And, you know, this is a reaction, a decision that nobody is really happy about in there. It was very obvious. Complete silence. No reaction, honestly. This is kind of what we, you know, having the jury in deadlock, you know, 10 hours ago, people thought that they could come to a decision after this, but we've sat with the jury now 20 hours of deliberation and they got nothing out of it. Now, honestly, the case just goes back to Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker, and it's up to him whether this case is going to be retried, whether we go through this same thing over again. Yeah, for now, no reaction from the courtroom.
Yeah, Riley, while we have you, and again, I want to be clear for our audience, we are waiting on a press conference here after we learn learned this result of a mistrial in the Christopher Schurr trial. But you have been covering this inside the courtroom day in and day out since day number one on our live blog. I'm curious, what has that been like? And then to see all of the testimony that we have seen up until now to get this result. I mean, as somebody who's been in the courtroom every single day with those supporters on either side, is this a shock to you, or is this kind of something that you were anticipating the entire time? I mean, the testimony at some points did get very confusing.
Yeah. It did, absolutely. That's such a great question. I think it's not so much a surprise since we heard that the jury was in deadlock, 2 days ago. We heard that and we considered this as a possibility. I will say it is kind of an underwhelming ending to such a, we had a back and forth going during those testimonies. The cross-examination could get really contentious at points. And, this is a case that people really care about on both sides. People are up in arms about their side in this case. It honestly, like I said, just feels like an underwhelming end to such a case that caused so much strife in Grand Rapids. Being here since the beginning, it would have been nice to say that there was a conclusion to this trial, that there was a verdict that came out of this. But yeah, I think this goes to show that both of the attorneys put forward a really great case for their side if the jury could not come to a decision on that. And it's obvious that the jury, really cared about this case, that they could go back and forth on these issues for 20 hours of deliberation, and in the end come up with nothing.
Yeah.
And Riley, what about when people were leaving the courtroom? We actually saw you leaving the courtroom as people were heading outside of the courtroom. Were people rushing out? Were the families trying to kind of gathering together? What was that, process after being able to leave that courtroom?
Absolutely. Some supporters of Justice for Patrick Lyoya were in the courtroom. They had a little bit of an outburst at the end. One supporter, said something about one of the jury members possibly being biased, and they were kind of, there were 9 Kent County Sheriff deputies inside the courtroom, and one of them said, "Okay, it's time for you to go." So, all of the Lyoya supporters kind of left at once, along with the Lyoya family. Christopher Schurr and his family stayed behind, though. We saw them leaving probably 5-10 minutes after that decision came out. We came in the courtroom at 9:30. We were called in for a possible decision. The judge said mistrial at 9:55, I believe. So in 25 minutes, this case of weeks and years, honestly, in preparation is just over just like that. Christopher Schurr's family left, a few minutes after that. I believe they're gone from the courthouse completely. Everybody left pretty immediately after that.
Yeah, and again, I think.
So that's a great question, Ohio Jen. Do you think the fact they couldn't agree on a verdict means both sides did a good job? That's a good that's a good point. All right, I would never want their job. It's just the nature of the case. Agreed. Well, somebody's always going to be upset at somebody, right? We're not pizza, right? Jurors are not pizza. Somebody's always going to be upset at something. Look at, that's just the nature of this trial. It's just somebody's always going to be upset. You're not going to please everybody. Well, it being hung, you don't know which way it was hung, though. Cleverly, you don't know if it was hung for guilty or hung for not guilty, right? So you just don't know, right? Widespread, yeah, I knew that no matter what, there would be many people dissatisfied with the outcome of this. Yeah, 100%. We are not pizza. We're not pizza. I'm going to point at you. We are not pizza. No, all we can do is just try to get along. I mean, ultimately, you may not agree with this, you may not agree with that. All we can do is just try to get along, right? Therapist, interesting how everyone talking about it is focused on them. They keep saying I and we and not the defendant or the victim. Focus, Grand Rapids, focus. Baka, I happen to be a rare steak. Is that a steak? That's one of their lawyers. Or he's a lawyer. I think these are lawyers. You know, they're consultants. They're experts, if you will. We're Not Pizza is your new band name, right? How boring. How about pizza with pineapple? How about the pineapple pizzas as a band name? Does that work? If he's retried, will we cover it again? That's a really good question. I was thinking about that today, Brenda. I was thinking about that. I don't know. It's gonna be a tough one. That's a tough one. I'm not sure. Hey, Gail. Sure, 50 could be commenting at the same time. Yes, I guess. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. 50. All right, Tammy. Go say hi to Emily. Appreciate you being here with us. Let's see. Hold on. Good morning, future. Not surprised by this one. Tough case. Lots of emotions, opinions, etc. Yep. Carolina, now this hung jury has me thinking which jurors were the holdouts, men, women, Hispanic, Caucasian. I really would like to know if it would be much easier if we were all pizza. Well, then we'd be boring, right? We are waiting, Kathy. We are waiting for the press conference. We're waiting for the press conference. There you go, therapist. Easier, but so much boring. Agreed. Future, I do question why they couldn't see if jury was hung on any of the charges, but if the state has lesser included, they should be able to question if they were hung on any charges. Yeah, this is what they were going after. Those were their options. Cleverly twisted. Becker was just reelected, so in your opinion, he won't retry this case since he didn't want to in the first place. Good point. Yeah, good point. Carolina, not if we were all supreme pizzas. That's true. We could all have different toppings. We could be pineapple. We could be sausage. We could be pepperoni. We could be roasted red peppers. We could be mushrooms. We could all have our different toppings. That is true. Good point, Carolina. Good point. We could all be, yep. For real? Has no one heard of Judge Bev? Poll the jury, therapist you know says. All right, we are waiting for a press conference. Spinach on pizza. There you go. Ohio Jen, I've never heard that phrase, we are not pizza. I don't get it. That actually, I've never heard of it either until therapist you know. So I don't even know what a supreme pizza is. Ohio Jen, therapist you know was the first time I ever heard of that, and that was like a couple months ago. So to me, it's like generally everybody likes pizza. This is my interpretation, is everybody likes pizza, and you can't be everything to everybody, right? You can't be everything to everybody. That's the way I interpret it. Oh, there you go. Therapist, you know, you can't please everyone. You're not pizza. 13th juror. Well, now I want pizza. Your mom is at the press conference. Oh, nice. JWD, think jurors had made up their minds before they even were sent back for deliberations? Yeah, probably. I don't think that's uncommon. Terry H, what? You don't know what a supreme pizza? I don't. All right, I'm going to have to Google it. You guys, what is a supreme pizza? What is a supreme pizza? All right, it's loaded variety of toppings. Okay, I could kind of surmise that. So it's got pepperoni, sausage, mushrooms, bell peppers, onions, and olives. All right, so it's pretty much everything, right? Terry, it just seems like it's as the name implies. It has a little bit of everything. Jenny, you're boring. You just like cheese pizza? Hey, nothing wrong with a good slice of just straight up cheese pizza. Baca had pizza last night. I did too. I had pizza for lunch yesterday, and I'm going to have pizza on Friday. So there you go. Yep. You're not boring. That's classic. Bottle Top, thank you for joining us. We're making you hungry, yes. Stuffed crust, please. Widespread. I was so upset at my parents when I found out it wasn't vegetarian that I disliked. Just the way they cook things. Oh, nice. All right, so we're waiting for a press conference while Carolina asking how Jenny is doing. Kathy, Italian sausage and banana pepper slices. We're just waiting for a press conference. Waiting for a press conference. All right, let's check in, see what these guys are saying.
Testimony was done with is that voluntary manslaughter charge. Do you think that might have confused jurors at all? And maybe that's where we ended up. I know I'm asking you to speculate on that, but do you think that might have confused jurors when they attacked that on as something that they could consider?
I certainly think it could have. And if they do, in fact, interview the jurors and the jurors are willing to speak, it would be interesting to hear the jurors' answers on that. Sitting back on this and looking in, I certainly think when there had been no mention of manslaughter until the very end of the case and it gets thrown in there, and then the elements, depending on how the judge read the instructions to the juror, are very similar to second-degree murder, I think it could have confused them.
Andrew, I want to bring you back in. You were talking about it could take a couple days before Prosecutor Becker does decide to ask the juror questions. Can you give us anything in regards to a timeline if he does decide on a trial? You know, we waited 3 years for this trial. Should people now sit and wait can they expect to wait another 3 years? Could it happen in a year? Kind of what is your experience with a trial being retried again?
Well, I can tell you this, is that it depends on the judge's docket. The judge could potentially have trials already scheduled, and then the judge would have to decide whether or not she wants to move a trial in order to try this one again. And so that's where the judge is going to have a lot of discretion in how she wants to proceed going forward. I've had judges say, declare mistrial and say, we'll see you back here Monday morning, and we start over. And I've had judges say, look, my docket's not clear for another 9 months, and then it gets scheduled for then. And so, and in the meantime, there could potentially be interlocutory appeals, appealing some of the issues they had at the original trial in order to resolve them ahead of the next trial. And so that's a huge question, and I'm telling you, I'm going to give you the Professor Tanya Kraus-Phelan legal answer. It depends.
I'm sorry, and I have another question in regards to a trial.
Well, thank you. That's a wonderful question, and I will absolutely opine upon that. So I think that pizza should be left up to the individual. If you want to put nothing on it, just cheese, that's fine. If you want to put all kinds of toppings, you should be able and free to express your opinion through the use of pizza. So, that's where I stand with pizza.
Becker will do this. I mean, this is how the Kent County Prosecutor's Office works, is they will be in consultation with Mr. Lyola's family and ask them, what are your thoughts on this? Is this something that we want to try to resolve with a plea agreement, or are you guys? And so he'll definitely consult with them before making any decision.
All right. Well, we'll ask you two to stand by because we have a reporter that is outside the courthouse getting ready to join us live here. I want to mention we're waiting for a press conference inside the courthouse. We're also waiting now. I'm looking at my email, a press conference from.
I've got to check my court status because I'm waiting in court.
Okay. If you got to go, we'll let you go. But we understand.
Oh, well, I have to check my court status too because I got to go too.
for me to be done.
Okay.
So just hang tight.
All right. Another press conference we're waiting on is, of course, the attorneys Ben Johnson and Ben Crump are also expecting to hold a virtual press conference as well. Joining us live outside of the Kent County Courthouse is Deja Barrett and Aaron Sullivan, who have been covering the reaction of both sides.
All right. We're not going to cover the reaction in that sense. I don't care to cover the reaction because that's not what we're about. But all pizza matters. Let's see. Brat dropping a big pizza bomb here. I like pale Italian cheese like provolone and mozzarella, but I hate cheddar, Gouda, blue. And I don't like American cheese. Don't hate it as much. It has an odd taste to me. I don't think I've met a cheese I've never liked. All right, future. Yep, I have to go do this thing called work. So you see you all later. Thanks again for covering this. Have an awesome day, everyone. Thank you, future. As always great to see you in our chat. You make our chat that much better. So thank you for joining us. Let's see. You should listen to the reporter's questions, then mute and answer. All right. I could try that. Next time. Any deep dishers get a 10-minute timeout? Where do you stand on Sicilian? It's chemistry in action, not a food product. American cheese. I am a fan of Gouda. Thank you for your I like smoked Gouda. I've never met a cheese I haven't liked yet. Pizza bar so you can build your own. There you go. You can't do brie, really? Oh, oof. Can. You need to have some wine, some grapes, some crackers, some blue cheese. Otherwise, if it's cheese, it's going in my belly. Get in my belly. It sounds so oregano-y. Cottage cheese, not a fan of cottage cheese? I hear you. Long as it's not Domino's. There you go. Yeah, I don't do fast foods. I'm not a fan. Never have been a fan of fast foods. And I consider Domino's fast food, but I'd rather make it myself or go to a mom and pop. Love blue cheese grape salad? That sounds, yeah. Blue cheese, yes. You don't like any cheese uncooked. So it has to be cooked for you. Definitely tastes different, Jenny, that's for sure. Absolutely tastes different. Never tried blue cheese. It's chunky. Yeah, you have to get used to that, having something liquidy. Oh wait, no. Okay, so blue cheese. I was thinking of blue cheese dressing. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are chunks. Well, same with cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is, yep. Only fan. You go to a buffet and eat everything that's raw. That's nice. Blue cheese on a blackened burger. Cottage cheese with fresh from the garden tomatoes. It's not bad. Let me see if they're asking a question.
Live to a picture of the backside of the courthouse where we understand that there is police protecting a van. Not sure who is in the van or why we're seeing this van, but again, this seems to be another area of focus for some of the deputies and police officers that we have been seeing protect folks go in and out of the courthouse all week and last.
Yeah, cottage cheese and pineapple, I can get with that. Have you ever tried honey, Hellcat? Cottage cheese and honey? Let me know what you think about that combo. Cottage cheese and lasagna because you can't stand ricotta. That's really funny. I think my mom used cottage cheese. Yeah, I want to say my mom used ricotta cheese. Why is ricotta silly? I don't understand that comment. You have not, yeah. It depends on if you have a sweet tooth. I have a sweet tooth, so I've done that on an evening here or there. Have a little scoop of honey and a scoop of cottage cheese. Cottage cheese and bell peppers. Interesting. I could see that. I could see that.
That you're unable to reach a verdict as a panel?
Correct.
Okay. And so what I'm going to do is declare a mistrial in this case.
Very quick things
happen. Jenny, you're saying your husband eats cottage cheese with honey and jelly? Wait, I wasn't looking at chat. Who said cottage cheese and lasagna? That would be me. Ooh, sriracha on cottage cheese. That I can definitely see. For sure. Yep, OnlyFan, music yesterday, food today. Nice. Cottage cheese and tomatoes. Cottage cheese should be illegal? You guys are so funny. Eggplant lasagna is the best. We did a zucchini lasagna. Yeah, eggplant. Well, I've done zucchini and eggplant. Yeah, I think I've done both, maybe even together. Gordon, think you've turned into Gordon Ramsay by mistake? That's funny. Carolina, you love melted cheese with jelly. I love cheese, period. That's a hard period. That's really funny because when I was a kid, well, not a kid, I was a teenager, and it was after a night, and I had made myself cheese, I think mayonnaise, and jelly, and I was eating it, and my dad came down. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like, yeah, Dad, I'm fine." Good times. Good times. Sriracha, cottage cheese, 6 ounces of black pepper, and I'd be in the hospital. Nice. So now we know where the divide really is. It's cheese. That's funny. Jenny, I love vegetable lasagna. Yep, so do we. Hey Mona, thank you for joining us. Will they retry him? What happens now? We're waiting to find out. We are waiting to find out. We're waiting for a press conference. We're waiting for a press conference, and we're not quite sure what's going to happen next. Terry, I can eat anything after a night. Yep, you know. If you know, you know. Ohio gin is free to applesauce or chips. Wait, I missed that. Ohio gin, you put applesauce in your chips? Hold on, let me go back to that. You dip potato chips in applesauce? Yeah. What kind of potato chip? I guess. Let's quantify that. Clarify it. What kind of potato chip? Like just straight up potato chip or Ruffles or Tech 2, didn't the judge just say a mistrial is declared? Yes. They Judge Mims declared it at 9:55, so we're just waiting for a press conference. And thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Judge Mims declared a mistrial at 9:55, and we're just waiting for a press conference. Yes, what kind of potato chip? We need to know what kind of potato chip. We need to define the scope of potato chip. Yes. Poll for chips on applesauce. Dill, pickle chip, and applesauce. All right. Well, I want to know what kind of potato chip. Before I do a poll, what kind of potato chip? Ohio Gin, what kind of potato chip? And then I'll do a poll. I need to know what kind of potato chip. Holy fan, you've never had applesauce in your life? Really? Interesting. Tech 2, didn't understand why you guys weren't talking about the trial. Sorry to interrupt. No worries. You're all good. Trial's over. Basically, we're just literally shooting the you know what. We're just talking about food right now, so join in. We were talking about pizza. Just join in. Join in the conversation. Missy, I've learned so much this morning. I never knew to have potato chips and applesauce at the same time. Just a regular chip like Lay's. All right. Only fan Tech 2, because it's done. We're waiting for a press conference, if any. Baca, love dill pickle chips, but I don't know about the applesauce. You know what? I'm never going to say no to something. I'll be like, all right, I could try that, unless it's like a meat. I'm not going to try meat, but you know what? I would try applesauce and a chip, because you just never know. Until you've tried it, you just never know. So let's do a poll. Let's do a poll. New poll for you, chat. Let's see. Would you put applesauce, not applause, applesauce on a potato chip? All right. All right, new poll. New poll for you, chat. Got a new poll out there for you. Oh, yes, we know your dog's name is Pickle. That's such a great name, Pickle. Particularly more natural applesauce with a bit more acidity. Yeah. No store-bought. Father, not for me. Chips and applesauce is a foreign concept. All right, so I will challenge you to, if you haven't tried it, how do you know you won't like it? What say you to that? If you haven't tried it, how do you know you won't like it? I do not, Terry. I occasionally have sushi like twice a year. And Aaron will make chicken, and I'll have like literally a bite. But yeah, that's it. Anyone put regular chips on a PBJ? Yep, life-changing. Father, see, if I put a chip in my mouth, it should taste like the flavor I bought. Then to put applesauce on there, going to mess up the texture. You would dip a chip. Oh, here, let's see what this guy's saying.
Yeah, so as you guys already kind of alluded to, we are expecting on Zoom or via virtual format to hear from the civil attorneys as well as the Lyoya family on their end. But here in the media room, we are going to be expecting to hear from the prosecution and possibly the defense as well. I think the biggest question is really going to be whether or not Prosecutor Becker is going to address whether or not he's going to retrial this, whether he's going to call a new trial in the wake of this hung jury. So we're going to have to wait and see that, but it's interesting.
All right, so they're just waiting on a presser. Oh, Baca, you had a cavalier named Biscuit? Oh, nice. Yep, button your shirt or wear an undershirt. Zoom press conference, good decision.
Some of the tension that we saw even just a couple days ago when we had maybe been expecting a verdict, but we didn't actually get one.
Well, Josh, I'm curious because you've also been covering this trial since day one. I'm curious, as this news comes out that a mistrial has been declared, from your perspective, what were the reactions where you were at in the courthouse as this happened?
Yeah, so we were actually outside the courtroom when that happened. I mean, we started to see deputies like pull back the line, where the line had been formed with that kind of roped off area. So we had kind of gotten a little bit of an indication something was going to happen here. What at the point we didn't know, but we've known.
All right, so follow your confirmation bias when it comes to your food and texture, also not an adventure foodie. Fair. Therapist, same. All right. So if you've never tried something, how can you say that you wouldn't like it or you would like it? I'm just, again, just genuinely asking. If you've never tried it, how would you know you don't like it? Yep, peanut butter and banana sandwiches. I never got that concept until maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I just never made that. I never made that marriage, and then I tried it, and lo and behold, I was like, "All right, that's pretty good." You tried a grilled PBJ, was good but messy. Oh, I bet. Oh, here, check this out. Aaron and I made. We love grilled cheese, right? And we make hummus as well. So we do grilled cheese on the stove, right? Not baked or whatever, like grilled cheese, and then you put hummus in between. Telling you guys, it's really, really good. Fala, 43 years. If I haven't eaten it yet, I don't need to. Fala, where's your sense of adventure? Where's your sense of adventure? You went to see Pantera and Metallica yesterday, hobbled, and yet for 43 years, if you haven't eaten it yet, you don't need to? How do you know? How do you know that it's not going to be just fantastically yummy? No, I'm not. I just want to know. I just want to know. Irish Amy, I can't stand the stringy stuff that comes off bananas, Icky. I know, I don't like that either. Well, you just throw it away. Just toss it. Yes, see, again, if you don't know, you just got to try it. Just got to try it. Grilled cheese and mayo. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, tiny bit of mayo on the outside of your grilled cheese. Yep, that's the trick. Not butter, but mayonnaise, because it's the fat. Fats, it's all about the fat. Carolina, you'd pass on snails, no thanks. Yeah, I would pass on meat for sure. I mean, if you slap something with eyeballs staring at me, yeah, I'm gonna pass. But Panthers and Metallica eat hummus all day. They create food from like grass and fairy dust. Hummus? I don't even know where you buy hummus. They create it. Cheese out of nuts. Blows my mind. Yep. Only fan. Spell it right. It's not Panthers. Pantera. There you go. Pantera. Terry H. I've never had snails. I'm assuming I don't like it. I don't know if I've ever had a snail either. I don't think I have. I'm going to say I don't think I have. Irish Amy, I'm okay with trying new things. My mom used to say, just try it once, and if you don't like it, you don't have to have it again. My mom would say the same thing. Try it. You might like it. Yes, hummus is chickpeas. That is true. It's called escargot. Please. Snail lives matter. Aaron would love some escargot. Ruby, you're out of here. I'll be back. Y'all have a great one. All right, Ruby. We're covering, don't forget, we're covering Dominguez, California versus Dominguez at 12:30. 12:30 our time, 9:30, 12 o'clock our time, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. And don't forget, Deanna is in the courtroom for us, so we're looking forward to having her perspective. I don't like regular peas. Why would I eat some chickpeas? Kathy, you had squid once. Good taste, but too rubbery to digest. Yeah. Carolina, oysters I can do with ice cold beer, but not the snails. They look so cute. I'd feel guilty eating them. See, that's the way I feel about cows, chickens, ducks. Well, here's a question for the meat eaters in the chat. If you had to raise the said protein, care for said protein, slaughter said protein, defeather and or deskin said protein, cure it or do whatever else you have to do with it, would you still be eating meat? And that goes for fishing, that goes for cows, that goes for ducks, sheep, veal, little baby cow. Would you be able to take an axe to a baby cow and chop its head off and then butcher it? Just asking. I generally want to know. Angela, I am almost 40 years old and my palate says that I am 5. I am so picky. I won't try anything new. I can't take a chance on trying something new, especially feeling like it looks yuck. Must taste the same way. Well, it's a legitimate question. Therapists you know would. Okay, my next question then is, have you ever done that? So that's cool, and this is a no judge zone. I respect that you could do that. My next question is, have you ever done it? Exactly, Kathy. That's why we have meat departments. But my question is, if you had to do it by yourself, would you be able to do it? Well, when you say it that way. Just a legitimate question. Father, but I live in the lovely time of grocery stores and don't have to worry about that. But yep. Okay, so then have you ever done that? Fish, chicken, deer, and rabbits? Have you ever done it? Who's done it? You have done it. Okay, fair enough. Kathy, let's see. With the caveat of the butchering, that shit was heavy. Oh, that was... Can never eat an animal you raised. Good morning and not a baby cow. Anything else I'm down with? Kenya, right on. Irish Amy, I don't eat most meat for that reason, but I got attacked by a gang of chickens. Oh my gosh. When I was 4, so with them it's a vendetta. Eat or be eaten, I gotta take them out. Oh, that's it. Game over. Game over. Irish Amy, are you... I'm sorry. That brought a tear to my eye. Got attacked by a gang of chickens. Oh man. Irish Amy, you are the best. That is just classic. I will never ever forget that. I think we've reached a hysteria level here. I can just imagine that. This poor little 4-year-old getting attacked by a gang of chickens. Oh my God, that is just brilliant. It's a vendetta now. Oh my God, that is just absolutely brilliant. Oh God. I'm telling you guys, chickens are vicious. You gotta watch them. God, that was hilarious. Terry, yeah, growing up, we had to. That was our food source. And trust me, I'm not here to judge anybody. And you do what you have to do, right? I get it. My brother was a hunter. I grew up with that. I had deer, I had rabbit. He caught a squirrel once. He had a pig. He raised a pig. We had chickens. I helped him cut a chicken's head off. I didn't cut it off, but I held it. Saw the chicken run around without a head. So I get it. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just asking if you guys have done that. So Irish Amy, they surrounded me and pecked every part they could reach. I have no guilt where they are concerned. Oh my God, Irish Amy. Oh, I just want to give you a hug right now. I want to hug that little 4-year-old girl and say, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay." Therapist, I love meat. Squirrel's nasty. Yeah. Everything tastes like chicken, right? Tastes like chicken. Widespread panic. My cousin refused to eat a cow she and her parents raised and slaughtered. She was like, I fed her at the back door. I can't eat her. Yep. Jenny says, did you know chickens eat scrambled eggs? I didn't know that. My neighbor has chickens for the eggs, and if they have too much eggs, they scramble them and feed them to the chickens. Ouch, that's like cannibalism. I will say this. I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but my buddy in college, he raised a cow. I forget the cow's name right now, and raised that cow, and I helped him take her to the slaughterhouse. And got to tell you, that was probably the best steak I ever had in my life. Was having that. You know, it just is what it is. You know. Hellcat, I love meat. Cheeseburgers are the one thing I could not live without. Cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. Only fan, cleverly twisted. Oh, rabbits are surprisingly underrated as a food source. Kathy says, I can't eat anything shot, just USDA inspected in the wrapping. Demon birds. They eat their own. They eat their own. They're cannibals. They're cannibals. Yep, there you go. They eat their young. Says it all. Oh my God, that is too funny. And Missy says, I learned really early he thought he could attack me, and I had to hit him a couple times to taught him. I smiled because I won. I know that sounds weird. All right, let's see. Yes, the squeegee, every time I see that skid, yeah. Cheeseburger, 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 cheeseburger. Brilliant, brilliant. Did you see my comment about the chips and sauce? No, I did not. I did not. Post that again. Well, you know what? Hold on, Jenny. I can go to your history. Hold on. Let me scroll back. Just give me a second. Just a second, Jenny. Let me see if I can find that. About, let's see. Let's see. Oh, chips and applesauce, about to take the dunk. Oh, okay. Verdict on the sauce chip. It's okay. Not bad, but not something I'd be specifically asking for. All right. That's cool. Thank you for trying. Yes, there you go. Jenny, at least you tried. Kudos to you. Yep, geese are mean too. We had ducks growing up. They lived in our pond. I don't remember them being mean to us, though. And there was a lot of them. There was like 7 or 8 of them. I don't remember them attacking us. And we used to swim in that pond. All right, I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to end the poll of, let's see where we stand on the whole chips thing. All right. With 40 votes in, 40 votes. Would you put applesauce on a potato chip? What the hell is wrong with you? 60%. I'd smash that baby 40%. All right. We are a house divided. Geese are not ducks. That is true. They are not. Jenny, you took one for the team. Well done. Points to Jenny. Geese are very mean, yes. All right, I got to go get some water, and I'm going to take a little comfort break. Well, I can always rewind. All right, I'll be back in a second.
Along with the prosecutor. The other thing that we are going to be hearing from is the Lyoya family and, of course, the lawyers representing them in this civil lawsuit that's still pending. We do want to go and check back out on the other side of the courthouse, where the opposite side where Micah was. We have Deja and Aaron joining us live once again for more reaction, and we joined them now live. Good morning, Deja and Aaron. What are you guys seeing at this point?
Tanner, good morning. So we are echoing the same story that Micah has on the backside of the courthouse here out front. Not a whole lot happening. Very quiet given the news that was released earlier this morning. There's about a handful, maybe a little bit more of Patrick Lyoya supporters out here this much, but this is just about all we're seeing. Not a whole lot of vocal expressions right now, just folks sitting. Earlier they were consoling each other, and you know, many of them expressing their disbelief and saying that how the declaring of a mistrial was unfair. So again, this is what we're seeing. Extremely quiet out here in front of the Kent County Courthouse. And as far as Tanner, you mentioned about the traffic, folks on maybe on Facebook, social media were asking, it's wide open here downtown off Ottawa and Lyons. So traffic is flowing. Not a whole lot going on, Aaron.
No, but I will say one thing we have noticed, especially if you're just joining us, there's not a lot of Schurr supporters out here. There were a few this morning waving their Blue Lives Matter flags with the American flag with that blue stripe down the middle. But I will say one woman was here asking, hey, where are the Schurr supporters? And we did tell her there's no one here. So it did seem like she ended up leaving the scene.
Yeah.
But like Deja said, few Lyoya supporters here, but not the noise that a lot of people that have been writing into us were expecting. So if you're writing in and asking, is there a riot? Are there massive demonstrations? The answer is no.
Right. We're not seeing a whole lot of that. A little surprising, though, to not see the Schurr supporters out here.
Right.
Over a dozen were out here earlier this morning, you know, of course, expressing their opinions and their voices in this matter. But again, really clear, not a whole lot typically down this sidewalk here in front of Kent County Courthouse, but we're right here on the corner of Lyon and Ottawa, and not a whole lot happening. Really quiet. Traffic is open and flowing, and this is what we're seeing. And of course, we're waiting for folks. Of course, I know we're waiting for that press conference to take place, but not a whole lot of activity coming out of the courthouse either.
No.
So it was kind of rumored that Schurr had left the courtroom, the courthouse already. Again, we can't confirm that right now. But again, not a whole lot of activity of folks coming in and out of the courthouse. And so this is what we're seeing right now.
Right. We did hear that some security guards inside were saying that he did leave. But again, we want to make sure we have an official source telling us that. So we're definitely going to be asking more questions before you hear from all of us again.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that clarification. Again, yeah, it's been one of the questions. Has he left the courthouse yet? And of course, Micah Cho is standing by on that parking ramp that we believe if anybody were to come out, that would be the area where that would happen. I think we have a live look inside of the press briefing room that we are expecting a press conference any moment now. You can kind of see that podium there, of course, as we await to hear from the prosecution and the defense on this case after a mistrial has been declared as we approach the 11 o'clock hour. And the other thing we're also waiting to hear from is the family of Patrick Lyoya. We're also waiting to hear from the attorneys that represent the family in a civil lawsuit case right now as well.
And we've heard from them quite a lot during the last 3 years. They've been very vocal. So we are expecting them to continue to be vocal. The one group that we are hoping to hear from is Christopher Schurr's side. We've made multiple attempts to speak with them before the trial. Obviously, them wanting to focus on the trial. We heard from Schurr for the first time in 3 years during his testimony, and since then we haven't heard from him. So it'll be interesting to see if the defense lets us get a chance to kind of go pick their brain to kind of understand what that side is thinking about.
And of course, you're watching this all unfold live. We've been live with you since about 9:30ish as we started to hear that, I won't say verdict because that's not a verdict, the decision in the trial, the declaration made as that mistrial happened. And again, that is a mistrial in the Christopher Schurr trial. So if you're just joining us right now, we want to let you know that basically the jury, again, for the second time, said that they cannot come to a conclusion. They submitted that statement to the judge in writing, and then the judge called the court back in around 9:30 this morning. I mean, there was kind of, I won't say frantic, but I mean, there was a big rush for everybody to start getting into the courtroom. We saw the prosecutor and the prosecution side team go in, and then we also saw the defense team with Christopher Schurr come in as well. The room there of the courthouse fill up, and then that is when the jury said, we can't reach that decision. The judge ultimately declaring a mistrial.
And again, for those who have not maybe been watching our coverage and are interested to know what was on the table, it was a second-degree murder charge, voluntary manslaughter charge, and then obviously an acquittal for Schurr, and all they had to agree on one of those options altogether unanimously, not majority altogether, and they could not do that. The judge had the opportunity to ask them to go and continue to deliberate. She did that once on Tuesday, saying that enough time had not passed. But clearly she believed enough time had passed to call for a mistrial in this case after the jury came back today.
So, what did I miss? Yes, he is free. He's out on bail. Oh, wait.
Prosecutor Chris Becker after the mistrial declaration.
Whenever we get set. Let me know when everybody's ready. You answered, are you? I'll get going. Obviously, this was not the what happened today is not what anybody was expecting or wanted. We're hoping for a verdict, and I think the family, I don't know if they've talked here, but they're extremely disappointed, as am I. This was something we were hoping to get a conclusion. We thought we'd put a good case forward. Obviously, the jury thought differently. They were hung. I spent quite a bit of time talking with them. They're very open, and they're really a good jury. I mean, they paid attention. They took a lot of notes. They obviously were in there for a long period of time and took this case seriously. So this is, this happens. This happens quite a bit in general cases, but especially if you look across the country, there's a number of police-involved incidents where it ends up in a hung jury quite a bit. So we always knew there was a possibility. It's a difficult case. This was not an easy case. This is not a simple case. So at this point in time, I'm sure the next question is, what am I going to do? Well, and I'm not going to make a decision right now. This is something I'm going to take some of the jurors obviously wanted to talk more. They may be reaching out, so I'm going to talk to them and take a look at everything, and I'll make a decision somewhere down the road. I'm not making a decision today.
Do you know how they were divided?
I do, but I'm not going to
talk about that.
Nope, I'm not going to say that.
It was close one way or the other.
I do, but I'm not going to get into the jury what the jury said. That's something that they told us in confidence, so I'm just going to hold it close to the vest. I know what it was, and so at this point in time, I'm not going to disclose that.
Is that going to help you decide whether to take this to trial again, what their vote was?
Yeah, it's a factor. I mean, definitely it's a factor. It's something that's kind of what I asked them. I want to get their feedback in terms of what the issues were. Just, talking to them, I can say they were on point. I mean, they were debating, sometimes you go back into a jury and you're like, what in the world where did you come up with that? What were you debating on that for? That was not the case here. They were on point. They were discussing the issues that I think both sides had. Obviously, there's a split in terms of what, who was believing one and which side. So this was, they were on point in terms of what they were discussing, so they were very thorough. So, it's going to be a factor, but I'm not going to say, well, because of this, I'm going to decide one way. It's still my decision ultimately based on all the facts and circumstances and looking at our case, looking at the defense case, and what's going to happen down the road. So I talked to the family and I said, give me some time. We're all digesting this at this point in time, and it's something I'm going to talk with them too, because I think their feelings should play a role. So it's a process, and I'm not going to rush into it, and we'll go from there.
Can you share what some of the issues were that the jury discussed?
Just like we argued, just like the argument was, was it the moment the shot was fired? Was that what you're supposed to look at, or is it looking at the totality of the circumstances? More, I was arguing, was a taser a dangerous weapon or not a dangerous weapon? It's basically what you saw in the trial and what the two sides focused on respectively. That's essentially what they were focusing on, which I appreciate. I mean, they definitely knew what the issues were, and it sounds like they had a very thorough debate on those, and they couldn't reach a decision, which is not uncommon. So I'm not criticizing them at all. I've never had a jury take that many notes and ask the amount of questions, and quite frankly, very good questions. So they were clearly engaged, clearly dedicated, and I appreciate their work they did.
The jury foreperson came out and she looked really upset.
She was not. She talked about this. She's like, I know. She just slipped and hit her chin. So.
And the FLP Lodge, State Lodge of Michigan, put out a press release just a little while ago, basically saying that public pressure is what led you to file these charges.
No public pressure. That's. If I had public pressure, just stuck my thumb up in the air and went with that. That had nothing to do with it. I base every decision based on the facts and based on what I think I can prove. This is not, I don't bow to public pressure, because there's a lot of cases I wouldn't issue or would issue based on what the public wants. I don't do that. So it had nothing to do with public pressure.
Given the results of this, do you have any second thoughts about bringing this
No.
charge in the first
No, I don't. No, if I didn't believe in the case, I shouldn't have been trying it. This was it's a difficult case. This is not an easy case. I've been involved in a number of officer-involved incidents where I've cleared them, and if I clear them, that's because I believe it shouldn't go forward. This is one I felt, given all the facts and circumstances, that deserved to go forward. And so it's not a regret that we got a hung jury, and I'm not surprised at a hung jury. This was a difficult case, and you've seen the split in the community. You've seen the jury was there was issues there. So that doesn't change because if you just try to charge a case to win it, you shouldn't be doing this job because that's not your job. Sometimes there are going to be tough, difficult cases. This is a difficult one. It's difficult for the community, and so but I still stand by the decision to charge.
Can you talk about what this has done to your relationship between your office and the Grand Rapids Police Department?
I've said this before. This has been pending for 3 years, and I'm preparing for a trial in 2 weeks with Grand Rapids Police Department. They're professional. We're professional. Clearly, there's people over there that don't agree with this decision, and I respect them. There are some people I probably respect. Nobody's confronted me. I think we still have a relationship. It's a working relationship, and I think it's we agree to disagree, but we still understand our roles and understand what we have to do for the community and protect the citizens. And we disagree on a case, but I think there's plenty of cases that we still work together on and work together very effectively.
The lesser included offense of voluntary manslaughter, was that something requested by you? And if so, when was that requested?
It's a necessary lesser included of a second-degree murder, so that's common for any, I've never had a murder case where it didn't get included unless the facts didn't show it, and I think clearly with the facts here. So yeah, we did request it, but that's just the normal, because it's a necessary lesser included offense.
Can you say whether they had dismissed the second-degree murder and were looking more toward manslaughter?
No, I don't know. We never got into that deep, so I really don't know how much what they were focusing on. In terms of.
You rely on the possession of the taser question. You put up experts who, in their testimony, said he never had full possession of the defense. Showed their version of the video where you see it in his hand. How much did that affect the case? Did that affect jurors? And does it affect the way you present the case going forward? Oh, it definitely affected jurors because they were debating on that. I mean, that was one of the things they were looking at: is the taser. What was he intending to do with it? What was it in his possession? So I think that was a key issue that both sides focused on, and they definitely looked at it. I can't get into their deliberations on how much it felt, but if I make the decision to retry it, that's something we'll take a look at and look. Get the transcripts and go over it, and is there something we could have done differently? Is what, every time you have a case, it's the same case, but you're probably not going to do it the exact same way, and things are going to come out differently. So, it is part of the case, and it's an issue, but we'll see what happens.
So, when speaking to the jury, can you talk about the emotions in that room when you're speaking with them? Are they pretty?
Yeah, to be honest, I think they were, there were emotions, but I've been in hung jury where you can tell, oh my gosh, I think these people are going to kill each other, and this was not that. I didn't get that feel. There's, they disagreed. There's, definitely some tension, but they got along, and they seemed to be, really trying to make an effort. So I didn't get the feel that it was like, a knockdown, drag out, or anything like that. They, they brought from citizens of Kent County. They did the best they could. They had differences of opinion, but I think they were, talking about it, and it wasn't, hostile, at least the sense I got when I was talking with them.
Sorry about that.
Sure.
Do you think, the first time the jury came back and said we're stuck, Judge Mims sent them back in, this time she declared on this trial. Do you think had they been sent back again, they could have eventually reached a verdict?
No. No. This is, the note came back saying, basically, I don't think she read the whole note, but the note was, I think one of the instructions is don't, give up your deeply held personal beliefs to just reach your verdict. And that was phrased in the note essentially saying, hey, if you want us to debate more, somebody's going to have to do that. And so that's the time, and Judge Mims made a correct decision saying, yep, we've come as far as you can. So I don't think would have done anything more.
Did you receive an indication that the needle moved at all from Tuesday when you were still?
They gave us an idea, and there was movement. Yeah, definitely. It wasn't. They've been sitting in the same position for 3 days, so they definitely exchanged ideas, and there was changes.
Were you surprised by this outcome?
No, like I said, you look at across the country. I mean, I think I just found out the Memphis, that Memphis case went through, and that was a hung jury before. There was one in Detroit, a state trooper that was a hung jury. These types of cases bring divisions, and people have strong opinions, and so it's I'm not surprised. I always thought this, this is a definite possibility that we're not going to get a verdict, and that's what happened.
So if you retry this, I mean, do you change your strategy somehow?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that now. So, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do now, so I've not even thought about what I'm going to do if I do decide to make the decision to retry it. So, yeah.
So should the case be tried again, what would the difficulty in finding a jury pool that's not tainted?
Yeah, which I think the surprising thing is, I mean, we had an pretty extensive questionnaire that it's kind of, you guys are all here, and then how many people said, oh, we don't watch the news, to some extent, and that's kind of surprising. But, I thought we went faster in terms of picking a jury. We left a week because we thought, there'd be so many people that saw it and had an opinion and weren't going to be fair. And for the most part, there's a lot of people that didn't see it and didn't have an impact. This is maybe a little bit fresher, obviously, since this was 3 years ago versus, whenever if there is another trial, when that's going to be. But I think it's always amazing when you get into I've done a number of high-profile cases, how many people are like, oh, don't hear anything about it, don't know anything about it. I mean, there's a number of people that had never heard about this case. So I'm not as concerned, but probably have to go through the same process.
What's the timeline you're thinking of on a decision of what's next?
I'm not going to let this drag out. I mean, I'm going to, be considerate of the community. I mean, this is a big decision, but I'm not going to rush through it. But I'm not going to sit here and, it's not going to be June. I don't have a specific timeline, but I hope to know relatively quickly.
Seeing the outcome, how do you think you guys did on selecting a jury?
Like I said, they were very dedicated. I mean, they're a very dedicated group. You never know. Every time you go in, you'd like to think, they're going to come to a verdict and everything. But this happens. This is a difficult case, and this was a very engaged jury. They were, like I said, I've never seen this many notes being taken. I've never seen that many questions. I've never seen that many good questions. I mean, sometimes you get really dumb questions, and this, for the most part, this jury was not that. So, yeah, I think this is a good jury, and they did the best they could and didn't come to a conclusion. But that doesn't reflect on this was a bad jury because of that.
Do you think it was a factor that one of the jurors said her partner is a police officer?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe everybody that we asked the questionnaires, thought they could, you can't just exclude people because they have, a partner or know somebody that's a police officer. So, at the time we made the decision, it seemed to be fair and impartial. They all represented that. So. Okay. Take one or two more, because.
You didn't use all of your challenges during jury selection. What led to the contentment between both you and the defense? We also had challenges.
Well, you always get, they had more than me. So at the time, when they had 4 left, I had 2 left. So I was kind of putting myself in a position. So at that point in time, I was fairly satisfied with the jury, and I didn't want to, put myself in a situation where all of a sudden I got none, and they still could strike, and then I'm stuck with somebody who I really don't like. So that was just, it was a strategic move based on I thought I liked the jury. You don't want to get too cute. Just use the preemptories, just to use the preemptories, and then you're stuck. So.
If there is a retrial, is there any talk about the change in venue?
I would doubt it. I don't see why. Like I just said, I don't see why there would be. It's we've had enough people that didn't hear about the case, or when we picked this one, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Could you talk more about the reaction of the Lyoya parents? How the emotions after this, you've met with them.
Yeah, I met with them. They're disappointed. This has been a long truck for them. I mean, this has gone on, longer than most cases, as you're familiar with. This is, with 3 years afterwards, and here we just got done with a trial where a lot of times we've, maybe in the appeals process or it's over. So this is, I can't, I've talked with them. They're amazingly patient. They're amazingly, understanding. But I think they're frustrated, obviously. So. Okay, thank you.
Obviously, a very thorough questioning of Prosecutor.
All right, so that was DA Becker. So not what anyone was expecting or wanted, extremely disappointed. He spent time talking to the family. He spent time talking to the jury, and he said they were a good jury. They took notes. They took the case seriously. He says they're law enforcement involved cases. This is a difficult case. It wasn't simple. He was asked, what is he going to do? He's like, he's not going to make a decision right now. The jurors want to talk more. I guess he's going to talk to the jury more. He knows that they were divided, but he's not going to say how they were divided. Oh.
A very important decision. So I thanked them for all the work they did. Some of them were willing to talk to us, and so my sense is that they worked very hard to come to a conclusion, and sometimes you just can't.
Can you talk about the reaction from Christopher Schurr?
He's been living with this for 3 years. He obviously wanted some resolution. I think he felt that the jury took the time to deliberate, and he appreciates that. He obviously wanted it to be done, but it's a hung jury. So I haven't had much chance, obviously, to talk to him yet because I've been talking to the jurors. So he'll probably have to reflect on it, as we all will, and as will Mr. Becker, on how we proceed next.
What do you think about the possibility of a retrial? I mean, what do you think should happen?
I do not think this case should be retried. I don't think it should have been charged in the first place. I think that it was clear, based on the evidence, that there wasn't enough to establish a charge in this case. I think there was a lot of evidence at trial that was irrelevant and that shouldn't come in. And so if there is going to be another trial, we're going to likely seek rulings from appellate courts as to what evidence is put before the jury. In particular, I do not believe that this theory that was sponsored by Professor Stoughton, how an officer can put himself in jeopardy by following what he believes to be poor policies of GRPD, where he loses the right to defend himself should he later be put in a position where someone is about to use, he's an imminent threat of bodily harm or death. I think that's absolutely wrong. I think the jury was confused by the fact that the prosecutor was saying that he cannot defend himself because he screwed up on whether or not he should chase him. I think that had effect on the outcome. And the fact that they couldn't reach a unanimous verdict. And so if there is going to be another trial, we're going to be asking the Court of Appeals to decide whether officer-created jeopardy is something that should apply in a criminal case, and whether officers, if they make any negligent act early on, they can no longer defend themselves if someone turns on them with a dangerous weapon.
Were there a number of appealable issues that you saw during this trial?
Yes.
Can you talk about those, other than what you just spoke of?
Substantively, that's the main issue. And to those that are following legal opinions, there was a U.S. Supreme Court case just in the last 6 months called Barnes v. Felix, where this exact issue was argued extensively. I think that this officer-created jeopardy is incredibly dangerous, not only for police officers who are asked to put themselves in dangerous positions, but for the community. Because what's going to happen if you instruct officers that they cannot arrest somebody, and it's up to the person being arrested to decide whether they're not going to be arrested, you're going to see a lot of officers who are going to hold back and be instructed that if later on this person has a gun or gets a dangerous weapon and uses it on me, I can no longer defend myself because I've screwed something up early on. So that's the primary appeal issue. As you know, Mr. Coker, we briefed that extensively before the trial. We tried to exclude it all for the trial, but yet it became the central issue. It's clear to me, and if you listen to the prosecutor's closing statement, that he talked about the chase and whether or not that was reasonable, when the issue should have been whether at the moment of the threat, whether Christopher Schurr was in fear of great bodily harm or death, and whether he acted as a reasonable officer would in that situation. So that's...
Sorry.
Go ahead, Duncan, right? Sam, sorry.
The decision for Schurr to testify, how and when was that made?
We anticipated he would testify, and as we saw the proofs come in, we felt that it was important for the jury to hear from him, because it's a case where what he was thinking, what he was feeling is important. And while there were plenty of experts on both sides to talk about whether it was reasonable, the only person that could say what was in his head is Chris. And it was a matter of, well, if something happens where he shouldn't testify, we won't have him testify, but the plan was he was going to testify unless something happened.
Do you know how that played with the jury? Have you spoken to the jury about his testimony, what difference that made at all?
I think they considered it. I don't think anybody thought he was dishonest in his testimony. Obviously, we didn't talk to a lot of the jurors, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of what they're telling us, but I think it played a role, but wasn't the dispositive witness.
You can't tell us how close they were one way or the other? Was it 11-1 one way, another way, half to 50-50? Can you talk about that?
It was overwhelmingly in favor of acquittal, and there were holdouts on the other side.
How many holdouts?
I don't know for sure.
How long were you talking to the jury after the mistrial was declared?
I don't know, from the mistrial until I came down here. I don't know how long that was.
During close, you had mentioned that you didn't have to put on a defense, but you did because of the importance of the case. Moving forward, should this be retried again, are there different approaches that you may take? I know you can't get too much into strategy, but were there things that you left out this time that maybe you think next time would be appropriate to bring in?
It's kind of speculative. I don't know. It would depend on what the trial looks like going forward. I mean, if we're arguing about whether or not he was negligent in chasing him, then I'm going to have to address that again. I just don't think that should have been ever put before the jury, and because it came down to whether or not GRPD's policy or no policy on foot pursuits had some sort of bearing on whether or not he can use deadly force to protect himself. And I think over half the trial was about irrelevant evidence. You had experts on both sides talking about how close you can stand to somebody when they deploy their taser. I don't know how that relates to a minute and a half later when Mr. Lyoya has exclusive control of the taser and is turning. It shouldn't matter. I was flummoxed by the fact that an expert could get on the stand and say, because you're too close, Mr. Lyoya grabbed the taser. That was a decision that was made by the individuals that were in that situation, and not because of some GRPD policy.
Matt, you asked for a mistrial on my count 3 times, maybe it was 2.5. And Judge Mims said you put something in motion about her rolling her eyes. What did you think of the judge in this case? And was this a fair trial? You keep asking for a mistrial. Was it ultimately fair? Did she do a good job?
We asked for a mistrial, and the primary reason was because there was all this evidence put before the jury that we did not think was relevant, and that was the focus of the prosecution's case. As far as the allegations of facial expressions, we obviously don't make those allegations unless we're certain that they're occurring. It was a crowded courtroom. It was our belief that the judge had been communicating with the jury. Why she might be biased, we never suggested one way or the other. We just thought that her demeanor at times suggested that she had feelings about something that coincided with the testimony.
So someone on your defense team actually saw her rolling her eyes? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
How many times? Can you talk? Was it often? Was it frequent? One time?
Throughout the trial, we thought there were facial expressions and didn't raise it. And then when Officer Schurr testified, we believe that there were facial expressions that were communicating something to the jury, and that's why we filed the motion. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. When you said earlier that the jury was in favor of acquittal, do you mean acquittal on the second-degree murder charge or voluntary manslaughter or both?
Both.
So if you're just joining us live, you're looking live on the left side of your screen. The defense attorney for Christopher Schurr is speaking following the mistrial declaration. On the right side of your screen, the civil attorneys for the Lyoya family, as well as much of the Lyoya family, is also giving their remarks. And we're going to listen to that.
Shout out on behalf of the family and the entire community that surrounds and loves the Lyoya family. Prosecutor Becker, in this case, did something that very few prosecutors have the guts to do in the United States today, let alone in West Michigan. And he saw what he perceived, and we agree 100% to be an injustice to such a degree by a police officer that he, as the main legal representative of Kent County, charged criminally former Officer Schurr with second-degree murder. And obviously, we agreed with those charges from the outset. We support Prosecutor Becker's decision to do so. And we encourage him, first of all, and thank him for he and his entire trial team. Angelica, the victim's advocate that was there for the family, all of these court people, if you will, from Kent County surrounded the family with love and support like they do every day in our courthouse. And we appreciate that and want to thank them. Not only did he bring criminal charges, but he himself, the main prosecutor, tried the case. Highly unusual. And we appreciate all that. And in this regard, of course, the fact that this jury could not make a determination either way, on behalf of the family, we encourage Prosecutor Becker to remain alongside this family and to move forward with a retrial, because we believe that this officer should be brought to criminal justice, and we will certainly address the civil justice that we, Ben Crump and I and our team will be asking for as well. But I would like to move forward with any questions so that you can hear directly from the family in terms of their reaction, which is obviously highly disappointed, but again, encouraged from the standpoint of it was a not guilty. There was no finding of not guilty, which is so often the case. And one more thing, I want to give a shout out to the family of Tyree Nickel, the gentleman who was killed by 5 or 6 police officers in Memphis, Tennessee, who 3 of those officers were found not guilty just yesterday. So we believe that was a miscarriage of justice, and we again appreciate our prosecutor, Chris Becker, moving forward, and we appreciate the hard fight that the jurors who believed in criminal justice in this case, we thank them for what they tried to do for what we believe to be that supported by the evidence.
Then, question from Carter Landis. How painful has this been for the family, waiting and leaving justice into the hands of the jury, all for them to not deliver a verdict?
Israel, please.
Anauliza kuko swali na kia pale, anasema hainjo maumivu. Tulere gani njo munasikia kusema mulingo ya panda 3 ans, mupate justice me munafika kupwenye, jiri haikukia kubapatia enye tulikuwa tunatafuta.
Kwa ngambo yangu mimi kama babake ya Patrick,
on my behalf, myself, like Patrick's father,
na familia yote,
and my entire family,
kwa kweli iko sawa, wanarudisha vidonda tena vinakuwa vipya.
It seemed like they reborn. We have a reborn of the wound and the image how my son was killed. He came back again.
Kuona kwa muda huu wa miaka 3 tunasubiria ukweli wa kesi ya Patrick ya kuuawa.
To see that all these 3 years where we have been waiting for this case to be settled, but Patrick was killed.
Tulikuwa tunajua kama tumefika mwisho wa kesi, na tunajua kama kwa kweli mtu akiuawa kinyume na sheria, na tunapaswa kupigana na kupata sheria, lakini tumefika, tunaona kama sheria inaenda kuyumbishwa.
And then we came here, we were fighting, and we get to the end. We thought that we were getting to the close of this case, and we were going to get the justice, but we came to realize that it was a hung jury. They could not come to the agreement to condemn this guy or to find him guilty.
Kwa kweli tumeumia sana moyoni mwetu, lakini naendelea kushukuru timu yote ya waavoka wangu wenyewe wanaendelea kutusaidia, na waaktivisti wote wenyewe wanaendelea kutusapoti, naendelea kuwashukuru, na hatutachoka kamwe na kuendelea kupigana mpaka tupate justice ya Patrick.
But also I want to say that it hurt my family, my wife. We are bleeding, we are in pain. But I would like to thank all my legal team that have stood by me and my family. Have been fighting, and all the activists, all the members of the community who stood by us and fight, and will continue to fight until when we get the true justice for Patrick.
Prosecutor wetu amepigana kabisa kwa hii kesi, ingawapo vitu vinaenda kuyumbishwa, lakini kwa kweli tunashukuru na lawyer wetu Johnson wote kabisa na Womag kwa vita ambayo wamepigana mpaka kwa hii kipindi tumefika.
Yeah, Mr. Becker, the prosecutor, he fought, he did a good job till to the end to get a justice for my son Patrick. Mr. Johnson, who has been with us from the beginning, Commissioner Womack, who have stood by us. I just want to say thank you to all of them for the fight that they have put in to get the justice for Patrick.
Lakini hatutachoka kamwe mpaka tupate justice ya Patrick.
We are not going to be tired until when we get the justice for Patrick. Thank you.
Van, this one's for you. How does this impact your civil trial, and can you provide an update on timeline?
It doesn't affect the criminal trial or civil trial, at all. Currently, we're waiting since the United States Supreme Court denied certiorari. In other words, they're not taking this case like the Schurr defense team asked them to. The case is in essence going to be back in Judge Maloney's hands down in Kalamazoo at the United States District Court. And I anticipate we'll be meeting with Judge Maloney in the relative near future where we'll be talking about deadlines that we have to meet when we can take certain depositions and so forth. So I anticipate that we will be moving forward now without any further delays.
Question from Simon Shaket, WXYZ. What does it mean for you to see charges filed again in a new trial?
And that's Israel from Mama, please.
Okay, Mama, wanakuuliza mnataka kuona ye kama bafungule tena hii kesi, position yenu iko aje?
Sisi mimi kama vile mama,
myself as a mother,
sitochoka.
We are not going to be tired.
Nilikuwa sichoki mtoto wangu.
I didn't give up on my son.
Na sitochoka mpaka sheria ichukuliwe kwa ajili ya mtoto wangu.
And we are not going to be tired until when we find the justice for our son.
Then what does this outcome suggest about the strength of the case or how it was presented, and will it impact any of your tactics on the civil side?
I think that by having a mistrial, it's somewhat of a mixed bag from a criminal law perspective. I am not a criminal law expert, so that's something that you folks can certainly reach out to those folks and talk about. However, what you know is this: you could not get 12-0. And remember, the burden in a criminal case, y'all, is beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a huge, high burden. And what you find out is either way, you couldn't get 12 people to agree. So it's somewhere in between that. Folks felt strongly about acquitting, meaning no, not guilty, and other folks felt very strongly about finding guilty. So in a situation like that, in police cases like this, that is often the case. One of the advantages of being a civil lawyer in a case like this, we're used to seeing that all the time. We have a lower burden of proof in the civil case. It's called by a preponderance of the evidence. Simply stated, if these are the scales of justice and they're even because the scales have nothing on it, having one marble, if you will, one pebble more on one side makes it more likely than not. That's all I have to prove. I personally think will prove far beyond that. But again, we do not have a beyond the reasonable doubt standard like they do in criminal law. So to me, as a civil lawyer, I think this shows that our civil case is extremely strong, and we will be moving forward with that belief, and we'll talk about as things materialize closer to trial.
There's a question for Patrick's parents. What do you say to the community who have been in your corner and calling for justice for Patrick?
Hii ni swali ya bazazi ya Patrick, kama pito tuana kujibia kusema se kitu gani ndio tena kusema kwa community yote ilikuwa na shima ngambo yako benye biko banatafuta justice juu ya Patrick.
No, kwa ngambo ya community ya timu yenyewe natafuta justice ya Patrick, naenda kuleta shukrani na kuwaelezea kama wasichoke, hata kama wanafanya hii mistrial, lakini wasichoke, waendelee tusapoti, tukue sie wote kitu kimoja, na tunaamini ya kuwa tutapata justice tu juu ya kifo cha Patrick.
On behalf of myself and the family, I just want to say thank you to the community that has been fighting for the justice and seeking justice for Patrick. And I just want to ask them to don't give up, to don't get tired. We will keep fighting until when we get justice. We get justice for Patrick. I want to say just thank you so much for standing up with us for all these 3 years. Thank you.
And let me give you folks just a real brief overview of the next steps as we understand them. We, on behalf of the family, Prosecutor Becker has the discretion under the law, as many of you know, to decide whether he chooses to move forward with a second trial or not. That is his decision. He shared with the family today his initial thoughts. He did not make any recommendations either way. And he asked us, which is beyond reasonable for a lawyer that has fought as hard as he has, especially in a hard-fought case like this, for well over a week of trial. And on top of that, now 3 to 4 days of jury deliberations. He needs some time to kind of let things sift through and process. He will then be making his decision. And he informed us that he will be notifying the family of his decision. And then, of course, he will be making that decision public. So when that becomes public, we will, of course, meet with the family and make the family available again. So right now we're relative to the criminal case, we're sitting back and trying to give Prosecutor Becker some time and space to process and do his job. And then he will advise us as to his next steps. So we, along with, I'm sure many folks in the public, will be anxiously awaiting his decision. And again, from a civil standpoint, there's no reason to wait, and we are ready, willing, and able to move forward in the prosecution of our civil case. Commissioner, go ahead.
Next question from April Van Buren, Michigan Public Radio. We heard new information and testimony about both police training and the possession of the taser in this case. Does any of the new information in this case change how you'll move forward in the civil case? Is there a chance you'll try to pursue the case continue to try to pursue the case against the city of Grand Rapids?
April, none of this information is new to me. I've been talking about this taser information from about a week of our representation, since I am very familiar with this type of taser and what the taser report showed. I knew that the tasers both had been spent. The whole drive stun allegation is it's a joke, and we'll be exposing that in our civil case. We have very strong experts that will talk about this as well. These are separate and distinct experts from who Prosecutor Becker used. So this is not new. If you heard any of the comments by the criminal defense attorneys about officer-created danger as to whether it belongs in a criminal case, notice they picked the words in a criminal case. That's because the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, that is the controlling jurisdiction that we all live in down in Cincinnati, Ohio, has ruled for years and years of this thing called an officer-created danger. And what that means is, just like in this case, when Schurr created the danger, he never should have had his taser out when he deployed it. He violated his training when he deployed it, how he deployed it, failure to give a verbal warning, and having it so close to Patrick when he first took it out of his holster. All of these are violation not only of his training by the city of Grand Rapids, but also on the training of Axon, the company that makes the taser. And we will talk more about that. And when you create a danger by doing something against your training, you can't then turn around and blame Patrick. And that's what this case was. From the very beginning, they blamed Patrick for everything. Patrick, because he resisted under federal law, ladies and gentlemen, cannot have excessive, unreasonable, or deadly force used against him simply because he resisted. Folks don't understand that, and that is the law, has been the law. So none of this is new, and especially in a civil setting, officer-created danger has been something that our circuit, the Sixth Circuit, has talked about for years. So this is not new, and we will be talking about that and utilizing that as part of our case here in the civil case.
Then I'll let you determine who this question can be posed to. Tessa Kresh from WLNS Lansing. What message do you want to send to the community, particularly other families impacted by police violence?
Well, number one, I want to again remind folks in the community that Prosecutor Becker stood up and did the right thing. And I think there are very few people in his position that would have done that. I respect that a great deal. Even though the jury did not convict, nor did they acquit in a case like this, in this case at least, again, he deserves full credit for standing up and doing the right thing. Relative to community violence, Commissioner Womack has done a great job and has been a voice of reason, and I would defer that to him.
I would just like to tell the city of Grand Rapids, the entire community, that our American justice system, even though there are still some flaws that we have attorneys working daily trying to fix, and hopefully more politicians, we still have an American justice system that gives families and defendants an opportunities to present their case. And I'm just thankful that this community chose to follow that direction, because burning up the community, the violence, none of that could have brought this family justice. And I think the family is closer to justice. We're going to continue to support them, and we need the community to support them in that peaceful way as we stand by the Lyoya family.
And I think it's important for the community and on both sides to understand there's a right to a jury trial. That happened here. The trial, Judge Mims did a great job, and her staff, very difficult, very high exposure case, did a phenomenal job. There was a fair trial here to both sides. The jury decided by not deciding, in essence. But again, you can't say there was no justice. The jury disagreed on what the evidence meant in terms of guilt or acquittal here. That is part of justice. So in terms of justice, although it may not be what the family and we believe the evidence supports, we respect that this is part of justice. And again, justice will be further defined in the criminal setting by Prosecutor Becker if he chooses to go forward. If he doesn't, that is his decision. And certainly justice will prevail, we believe, in the civil courts here in the upcoming next year to 2 years.
Question from Matthew Whitkos, Fox 17, Grand Rapids. To Patrick's parents, what went through their minds hearing Schurr's point of view during testimony?
Dorcas, please. Israel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mama Dorcas, hii swali ya chini wanauliza sa nani Schurr alikuwa na panel témoignage yake. Kitu gani ndio ilienda mu mafikiro yako? Ni nini ndio ulikuwa unajisikia sasa alikuwa na panel niko naenda kutemwanye pale mbele?
Yani nimejisikia vibaya, tena vibaya sana. Kwa maana alivyoenda pale mimi nilifikiria kitu cha kwanza chenye ataanza nacho labda ni samani.
I felt bad, because very, very bad, because when he went there the first time, when he went to testify, my heart was bleeding. And the first thing I thought he would say coming from his mouth was going to say, I'm sorry to the family, to apologize for what he did wrong, but he didn't.
Lakini niliona kama vile ni mtu alikuwa hajali na alionyesha tu kama sasa vile hakuwa mwanadamu mwenzake, ni kama vile ameua kuku tu yenye haina mwenye nayo.
And it seemed like the way that he portrayed himself, it was like he had no remorse, he had no guilt, he didn't care that he took the life of a human being. It seemed like he only killed an animal. That's how he presented himself, because basically he did not show any emotion that he was wrong for what he did.
Peter?
Kwa ngambo yangu mimi, wakati nimemwona wanamweka ule muuaji Christopher Schurr pale mbele, kwa kweli nilikuwa najua kama ni binadamu na aliona amefanya makosa kuua mwingine binadamu. Nikawazia kama ataomba huruma kwa familia, lakini niliona hakujali na alikuwa kama ni mtu mwenye furaha, hakutingizika hata na kitu chochote kile.
On my behalf also, when I saw him coming from up front over there to testify, I thought as a human being that he will feel the remorse, he will feel the pain that we went through, and he could apologize. But no, he didn't care. And also he displayed like he was joyful, he was happy for what he did. So that was really painful to me and to my entire family.
Na uongo yote yenye ametumia, nimeenda kuleta shukurani, lakini najua kama Mungu atatusaidia. Na ajue kama anaendelea kubeba damu ya Patrick kwenye kichwa chake.
And all the lies that he portrayed over there, all the lies that he spewed over there, I just want him to know, I just want to say thank you to God, because God will give us the justice. But I want him to know that he's still carrying the blood of Patrick on him and is responsible for the blood of Patrick. Thank you.
Another question for the family from Michael Cranston.
Family of Van Johnson, the family of Patrick Lyoya and their attorney, Van Johnson, responding to the mistrial that, to the judge saying that this was a mistrial.
Yeah, so of course we heard from the Lyoya family that of course they seemed a little disappointed that this was the outcome as they came on screen in that Zoom press conference. The father actually saying to see this, through for 3 years, the prosecutor in the case did fight very hard and in his words did a good job. He also mentioned that he's thanking the community for the support around Patrick Lyoya as well. But at this point, what we can gather from this criminal trial moving to the civil case that we expect to move forward down in Kalamazoo, the attorney Van Johnson saying that there's no impact on this decision or this case, the criminal case that is, as they move forward with that civil case. Again, that's down apparently down in Kalamazoo, according to that attorney there. But again, we do have reporters covering all sides of this. We've got, of course, Josh Albertus there, who's in the press briefing room where we just heard from the prosecution and defense. We also have Riley Mack and Callie Lichter, who have been covering this trial since day one. Josh, I want to start with you because we did go to the Lyoya family as the defense attorney, Mr. Borgula, was going through his spiel there. Can you kind of give us a rundown of what he said in the courtroom?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a waiting phase, honestly, at this point. You're going to hear from our other reporters in just a second about this, but it's really just up to Prosecutor Chris Becker whether or not he's going to retry this case in the future. You're going to hear more about that in a second. But when we just got finished hearing from defense attorney, the defense Matt Borgula, who kind of alluded for us, while Becker would...
All right, guys, looks like I'm going to end this stream. It seems like they're done. There's a redirect coming over to the California versus Dominguez. So it seems like we're done here. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us through this trial. Thank you to Erin for all that she does on the back end. Thank you to our mod squad. Thank you to chat. You guys are very respectful. I appreciate that. I know this was a tough trial for us to serious? All right, I'm going to end it because it's getting a little dicey over here. I'm getting bit, and Super Bowl is... All right, guys, thank you for watching. I will see you guys. There's a redirect. I'll see you over at California versus Dominguez. Thanks for watching. Bye. Let's see here.